call this meeting to order. Could we please rise for a moment of silence and then the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Demi,
Here.
Ms. House,
Here.
Mr. Panza,
Here.
Mr. Ray,
Here.
Ms. Schwartz,
Here.
Mr. Tintori, Ms. Barron,
Here.
Mayor Shank.
Present. May I get a motion for approval of minutes of April 7th, 2025?
I make the motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The approval, the minutes are approved. We are going to make one slight change in the agenda tonight. We have visitors from Point Park College. They have a presentation and we're going to ask them if they're ready to give the presentation. And then we'll have the hearing of the citizens. That way you can listen to what they have to say. If there's any additional comments from the citizens, you get to comment after hearing the information. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Scott Swain. I'm the Vice President of Athletics at Point Park University. I've been at Point Park now for 15 months. I have been in college athletics for 27 years. So very excited to be here tonight. I'm going to let these two other gentlemen introduce themselves and then we'll get on with our presentation.
Hey guys, can you see if that microphone's working?
Oh,
Okay. No, there.
I broke it.
Testing?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Justin Galecki. I'm General Counsel at Point Park University. I've been with Point Park for about 8 years now, rising to the level of General Counsel for the last year and a half. I'm happy to be here to talk about our project and answer any questions you all with regard to anything else. Yeah.
Lauren Torres, I've been at Point Park 17 years and coaching college baseball for 27. And thank you for your time. And it is our pleasure to be able to share this news with you.
All right, well, now that you can hear me with the microphone, let's go with that. I feel like I'm turning my back to all of you. I feel rude, so maybe I'll just spin around a lot. As I said, we are here to talk about the wonderful partnership that we've had with you all for now over 15 years. I don't know if you realize, but the field that our baseball team plays on during our season initially was from Duquesne University, and they played on that field for 15 years. We have now played on that field for 15 years, Point Park. So it's a real interesting that we are now 30 years into our field here in Green Tree. We really want to get into why we're here tonight is talking about the field and our wish to upgrade it and upgrade it for everyone, not just Point Park baseball, but also for all the people that use this field year round. We only use it a certain point in time. I'm going to hand it off to Coach Torres because he is the best person to talk about our 15 years of usage of this field. And if you want to look at the PowerPoint slide that we have, it is in there as well. So Coach Torres.
So without going too much into the entire history, Duquesne University built the field 30 years ago. And when they dropped their baseball program, we took over that league. Year to year, they had
I apologize.
Michelle. Every time I
Yeah,
touch
just
the
you can
mic.
talk loud for now. I think what happened is the battery probably just.
It can be loud, you know, so. We took over that lease, year to year, 15 years ago, and it's been a huge blessing to our university and our baseball program. The issue with the field is that the team did not build a training system. They sloped the field at the beginning, and that probably worked, you know, during the first few years of the existence of the field, but once, you know, the field started to show some age, and the water doesn't drain any longer, so if it rains, it could be 70 for the next 3 days, and the field's we're not able to use it. So that's the terms of the agreement. We have priority over the field fall and spring. And Keystone Oaks plays their spring games. Spring games there, their home games, their home varsity. During the summer, the whole team, you know, takes it over and they use it, but it's a really nice facility. The only issue that we're having is we're not able to be on it because of the drainage system. And the weather here in the north, and, you know, with a lot of teams going into turf, we see that as a huge opportunity for us to be able to be on it more, for the community to use it as well. But, in terms of the history, it's a 30-year-old field, and it's showing its age, and it needs some improvement, and so here we are with this idea.
If anyone's following along in our PowerPoint, I'm actually gonna reference it where it says Point Park Field usability data on that page. And if you look at that page, down towards the bottom, all right, now we'll see. All right, it's working now. We'll see when I hand it to someone else if it's still working, right? But if you look at this past year, 2025, Point Park baseball had 15 games scheduled to be played at our field. We were only able to play 4 of those. Those were 2 doubleheaders, 2 days that we got on the field. Last year, we had 23 games scheduled. We were only able to play 7. And you look at 2023 and 2022. The numbers are very obvious that during our college baseball season, unfortunately, the field is just not playable. And not playable for games, but not playable for practice either. So, why do we have the wish to turf the field? One, because to put down a good artificial turf surface makes the field playable in a variety of weather. Coach Torres said, we can have 70 degrees and sunny for 3 days, but if it rained for the day before that sunshine, it might still not be played. With turf, we can play with cloudy skies, rain, and an hour later, we're playing. It is really, really functional to be able to be used any day that we need it. And when I say we, I'm not just talking Point Park, I'm talking the city of Green Tree and the other teams that Coach Torres has alluded to. Talking about the college baseball season, our baseball season goes February, March, April, a week or 2 into May, and we are done. Okay, we know the weather in Pittsburgh is beautiful during those months, right? And that weather does a real doozy on our field. It would not do that to turf, okay? The maintenance of turf is very little. And the maintenance of our current field is done. One of the best lawn mowers in all of Green Tree is right here next to me. Coach Torres mows the field a ton, along with his assistant coaches. He would be taking up that maintenance responsibility along with Green Tree maintenance of we call combing the field. Combing the field is a thing that combs the turf and keeps the fill in it going and provides a longer life to turf. So that's the real reason why we would really like to have the field be turf and not its current state of grass. Everyone would get a lot more use out of it. If you look at the next slide, it talks about a proposed timeline. I want to emphasize proposed, but it talks about our first step why we are here tonight is we would like to have an agreement of a long-term lease moving forward between Green Tree and Point Park. And talk about if there are any field repairs that need to be done. And then we need to submit prevailing wage determination because we were privileged enough to get a grant that would help cover part of the turf being installed. So we do have to follow a lot of regulations. Those are listed under June, July, and September on that slide. If you're wondering, okay, so how much is turf going to cost? Well, the turf right now for that field is a little over $1.2 million. And you can see what it does include. And then you'll see down here, we did receive a reimbursement grant of $225,000. And then our balance due to Point Park University, not to Green Tree. So the balance due to Point Park would be a little over $1 million. And then the responsibility of the future maintenance and the replacement of that turf would be with Point Park University, not with the borough, not with Green Tree. If you're wondering how long turf lasts, typically they say a well-maintained turf, whether it is baseball, football, soccer, typically will last 10 to 12 years. And you can see a good healthy turf actually doesn't really look completely green. It kind of looks black because of the rubber fill that is in it. If you see a field that is completely bright green, that might not be the most healthy field because they haven't had the fill churned up to make it work. You know, we want to address, we heard some concerns from the council previously, and we wanted to address responsibility for future maintenance and repair of the turf. And whether you are committing a future council to councils down the road to potential costs. And I can tell you, you are not committing a future council to cost because in the lease, Point Park University would be in charge of not only maintaining this turf, but replacing the turf and making certain that it is maintained. And when it does need to be replaced in 10 to 12 years, we would be the ones doing that at this point. The last slide really we have for you is just concerns about field moving forward. We would like to have the ability to use the naming rights of the field to help close the funding gap. So we can purchase the turf in a timely fashion and have it installed with hopefully the chance to have Pioneer baseball playing on turf next spring. And that is really the end of our presentation per se, but I want to hand it to my legal counsel. Have I forgotten anything that you'd like to add right now?
Nothing really, great jobs. The only other issue I think that we wanted to address or wanted to at least put out there for the council to understand is throughout development of the drawings and everything else that haven't taken place yet, it's our expectation that there may be some drainage issues on the field that need to be resolved before the turf can be placed. If that becomes the case, we would respectfully request borough assistance in covering those costs. We don't know what they would be, but just trying to be upfront as to what our sort of what type of help we would need in order to get this field.
No, just, thank you for your time. It would be a huge blessing, not just to us, but Keystone Oaks High School and the community. Live turf field that could be used consistently. Our relationship has been outstanding. There are gentlemen here that work with me and have cut that grass with me plenty of times. And I was just telling Scott that anytime we're in a jam, we call Donnie. He can fix anything. But thank you for your time, and I hope that we can continue to work together. Good job, Don.
Any questions?
Yes, Is there any questions from council?
Thanks for the
First
presentation, guys.
question, but I'm willing to go last if there's people in person that have a question.
You said you have, about 23 games a season on a good year.
23 scheduled, 20 weeks.
Scheduled, but you're only playing a couple because of, the field conditions. About how many practices do you have?
We've had a handful of practices this year, maybe
I'm
5.
talking about like the ideal. If you have a turf field, what's the ideal condition look like, where you have how many games and how many practice between February and May?
We would probably play the 25, 50% of our schedule there, maybe more. We would, be able to host a little higher than that. So I would say 50% of the schedule, 25, and practice is almost, if it's not snowing or raining, or the temperatures aren't below 35, we would be out there daily. And we've incurred in a lot of cost, renting the walking stadium and going to the Green Tree Sportsplex. The majority of that time, so we would be there practicing, yeah.
So can you help us understand that if you have 23 games and on the field every day for practice, how do you share it with Houston?
So Mark and I work really well together. So he calls me, once our schedule's out and we work together to make sure that when we're on the road, he's able to play at home. And every now and then practice on the field when we're on the road. So 50% of that schedule would be us going on the road. So we would leave on a Thursday, come back on a Sunday. So he would have that time to schedule his games. It's been difficult, because again, it could be 70 for over 3 days if it rained. He hasn't been able to play on there. And so it's a challenge to him as well, but we work really well together and he would be able to play his entire home schedule there, which he has been incurring into rent, of other facilities like Russellton and the Wall things, but we have a great, working relationship.
Okay, so 23 games, you're away, leave Thursday. come back-
25.
Yeah, 25.
Mhm.
Thursday, come back Sunday. I'm not too familiar with the high school baseball schedule. Do they don't play on the weekends or? No, yeah, during the week. So they'll leave like maybe probably Thursday, because they don't think they have Friday games. So they'll just leave one day, their schedule.
They have been able to schedule their entire home schedule at Green Tree.
Okay,
The only issue has been the field, the weather. So if we are home, and they have a game scheduled, we would practice at 1 o'clock.
oh,
Get
okay,
done at 3,
Gotcha.
and they can hop in, because their games are normally 4:30.
okay.
So they are able to use it. We share it. And again, they've been, their entire schedule, home schedule is scheduled at Green Tree. It's just that the field hasn't allowed them to use.
And then, so you're just there, thanks for that clarification. So you're just there February through May.
In the fall, in the fall, months of September through October. And then we shut down for the winter.
Okay.
So months of November, December, January, the field not use due to temperatures.
And do we have, sorry, I'm a hockey guy, I don't.
That's okay.
Do we have, does Keystone Oaks have fall baseball? No, okay,
And the gold team, the youth team, the Green Tree, the GAA use it the entire summer. So
so
they'll
then
use it,
16U,
yes,
okay,
they'll use it 18, yeah, they'll use it, June, July, a little bit of August if they make postseason.
okay, great, thank you.
One thing I probably should have added is with a turf field here in Green Tree, we won't actually be able to host college tournaments that we haven't been able to host and bring tourism to Green Tree that we haven't purposely not been able to because we do not have a reliable field that we could count on for that. And,
To that point, those would be coordinated well in advance with Green Tree because, starting in a few weeks, we have farmer's market. That is in that parking lot, right next to that field. We have activities at the school that happen towards the end of the school year. There are a lot of community events that happen that would need to be coordinated well in advance before we were bringing in large competition.
absolutely. And our college baseball schedule is set normally 6 to 7 months ahead of time before the start of that. So that would not be an issue at all. We can bring more people to Green Tree, the better.
Other
Is
questions?
how we look at it.
Do you have a general estimate of what the field repair costs would be, the buy-in that Green Tree would have to make to get the field ready for you to turn.
We do not have that because we don't know what we're actually looking at to see what it will cost to fix it. When we have a turf company come in and do assessments and all that, we will have an actual more of a figure to do that. But also, a turf company could easily come in here and say, well, this drainage issue you're currently having is because of a natural service that you have. If you are familiar with kind of a French drain, turf companies come in and do that, and they could easily sit there and say, this drainage problem is actually gonna go away when we install turf. But we wanna be completely transparent with you all because the drainage has been an issue.
I guess my
Yeah.
question being is, I think that knowing upfront what the cost to the borough would be kind of critical before making any decisions to go forward with the project, honestly. That's just.
I understand.
Yes,
Sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
okay, thank you. Yes, if it's turf, it could be a win-win situation for everybody. My two main issues were already addressed, the water drainage prior to the turf. As Mr. Schwartz indicated, that we would need to know what that cost is or how big an undertaking that is. Because it's my understanding Point Park would agree to pay the cost to put the turf in, the complete cost, over $1 million. I mean, between grants and everything. So, I mean, that would help. And my other question that I wrote down was already addressed, but the use of our high school team. And my question was, did you have early practices? And you answered that. So you could work with the early practices. So our high school team could play their full complement of games there and not worry about rainouts. So that would be good. And you mentioned Mark, is that the athletic director?
Yes, yes,
Stone Oaks?
yes, it is.
Okay, my kids graduated 20 years ago, so I don't know the current athletic director. Okay, but thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions. The one you had said earlier that, having these games brings more people into Green Tree. Do you have an estimated number of attendees that you have for each of your games? And then could you tell us about how you and your team or the guests utilize our local businesses while they're here?
I would say a couple of hundred people between parents and fans per contest or team in town. That comes with a block of rooms at the different hotels, whether that's the Holiday Inn across the street or the Hampton nearby. They do dine in town and stay in Green Tree. So I would say a couple of hundred over each visit from each team. And
I think one important thing is because of the variability, because of the lack of reliability of this field, a lot of times we're changing a game site 12 hours out, maybe 6 hours out. And we are headed down to Washington to play at Wild Things Park because our field's not playable. If we have a turf field where we know we are going to play, I think we are going to have more and more fans and more visiting fans coming because, trust me, they're gonna know, oh, the turf field, well, this is where we're going. We're gonna stay at this hotel that's 5 minutes away from this field as opposed to staying at a hotel in Green Tree, but having to go right back down to Washington to watch us play. So I think that's an important point as well. If we had the reliability of a turf field, it would only increase the number of fans that we currently have. Also, we're now NCAA Division II, and that means the teams that we are competing against are coming and they are bringing more fans, as in Wheeling and West Liberty. And we played Seton Hill, Slippery Rock, Cal PA. These are institutions that are now bringing fans to Green Tree and are eating in your restaurants, or from our further opponents of Charleston, Concord, West Virginia State, Fairmont State. They're coming and they're staying in your hotels right here. for double headers and those sorts of things. So we are bringing revenue to the city and we're happy to do it because we've had a great partnership.
Follow-up question to that, do you have any data that shows that those teams book our hotels here in Green Tree?
Well, I'll say this, when visiting teams ask for recommendations of where they should stay, we are pushing them to one of the hotels right here in Green Tree. We cannot guarantee and force them where to stay, but they stay where we recommend, just like we stay where a team recommends for us when we are on the road. So,
Okay, thank you for that. And then one other question, I'm very thankful that you are here tonight, for this presentation, and I'm sorry I'm not able to be there in person. But could you please explain, or give a little background onto how, Point Park applied for grant funding for this project? And in that grant funding said that they had borough support, when this is in fact the first presentation that you have given to council regarding this.
Thank you for that question. I think largely there were discussions ongoing for well over a year, I think, as to the Point Park's intent to turf the field. This is the first time we're in front of council, but we've had discussions with the mayor and one instant, we certainly notified the borough that we were applying for the grant. So I appreciate the question, but that's the background.
Mayor, is that true that you were notified that they were planning to apply for this grant?
I had a discussion with Point Park. I went to the event they had, and I had no knowledge at that time that they applied for the grant. I subsequently learned that I did have a discussion with them at a fundraiser. I was invited, so I went to try to learn what was going on, but I had no knowledge of the grant till recently.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply that you did have knowledge that we applied for the grant, just that we were discussing the issue with the borough.
Building general, correct.
Well, is any other questions from council? Oh, you'll have your chance that you'll have your. Okay, well, thank you for the presentation. We're going to discuss everything and we'll get back to you shortly.
What if we want to ask them questions?
Yeah, I want to ask.
Before they leave?
Oh, yeah, good point. Would you mind sticking around in case we're hearing of the citizens, someone has a question?
Perhaps you could just ask the questions regarding them now, and then ask other questions in a separate.
I like that idea.
I'm sorry to speak out of turn.
I like that idea.
For those keeping tally, this is 2 meetings in a row. Appreciate the presentation. 2 meetings in a row where we had presentations, so it would have been a great idea to have a workshop. Yeah.
I would not disagree with that statement, Mr. Wright. Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Cotter first.
Okay, question I have is, you're saying that there may be a drainage issue. Can you tell me, where are you having problems with the drainage? Is it just the outfield? Is it the infield? Is it the grass infield area or the dirt, or where's the biggest problems?
All of it.
All of it. So over 20 years, the ground has basically settled down and become a bowl,
Yes,
and water's just laying everywhere.
yes.
So
with
you're gonna
the-
need drainage on that whole field.
With the infield, we put the full tarp on,
Right.
and that's why we're, but we're able to save the infield, the
Right.
range, but the out, we can't talk the outfield, so that's why the biggest problem is the outfield. Now, we don't know if we have to, like Mr. Swain said, we don't know if we have to put a drain system on there, close the turf. Cover that, we'll have to get to that point when the turf comes. Yeah, but it's the entire field.
Because I know at Wilson Field, I believe our maintenance crew put in drainage on the infield And that field does not get puddles like it used to.
Yeah.
I mean, after a couple of days of sunshine, that field's ready to go, you know, but until they put that drainage in that infield, that was like a bowl of soup for a week.
Now we're dealing with that, we've dealt with that for a long time.
Okay.
Thank you.
We actually can just pass the microphone around, so who would like it next? There we go.
Okay, I'm not really used to using a microphone, but we'll see what goes. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand this arrangement. I believe you said Green Tree would continue to own the field. And I believe you said the cost of the turf is $1 million. And I believe you said that you wanted Green Tree to pay for any like prep work or whatever before they could put the artificial turf in. Is that correct?
There.
Shared cost or whatever.
Sharing the cost for drainage.
Okay.
And I
And
would-
if
I
you
would
apply
ask-
for a grant,
Sir,
sorry,
I would just mention too, that I don't think we are asking for Green Tree to commit to any specific number. Right. And we need to retain an architect. We're waiting to do that. Until we have a, you know, I guess some vision as to how long we could actually be in, right? If we're gonna make this investment, we need to know we have access to the field for a particular amount of time. Architectural costs aren't included in the 1.2 million, the turf cost, so that's gonna be an additional sunk cost for the university that we hope to settle the lease before we have to make that expense.
okay, thank you for that. And I hope you don't mind this next question. In order to apply for this grant, were you able to receive this grant if you had said that Green Tree was not supportive? Was this something that in order to apply and receive this grant, you had to have a government entity supporting it?
Yeah, no, support of.
Was this from the state, I guess is what I'm asking, is this a state grant?
Redevelopment, Allegheny County Redevelopment Authority.
Okay,
The purpose of the grant had to be to support, recreational use within a municipality in western Pennsylvania. I don't think, you know, specific support of Green Tree was a listed requirement on the grant, however, I'm sure.
okay, all right, thank you. All right, another question then, I hope you don't mind this question either. If Point Park would discontinue their baseball team and stop having a baseball team sometime in the future, that you've installed this $1 million turf, and you said the turf doesn't last forever. And I would assume if you discontinued the baseball team, that when it came time to replace that turf, you folks wouldn't pay to replace that turf, and Green Tree would have to replace that turf, which I would understand, because you're not playing baseball anymore there. But then we would have a baseball field where we would need to replace the turf that costs $1 million, or perhaps that baseball field would no longer be useful for our purposes as a baseball field.
Your scenario is correct, but I would like to add this, that Point Park Baseball is one of our most, if not the most successful programs. Not only wins and losses, but also recruiting and retaining student athletes. And we're also, even though we could barely play any games here at Green Tree, this coach coached our team to the Mountain East Conference regular season championship this year. Tom, answering your question is, baseball would be the very last sport we would ever think of discontinuing.
Okay.
We don't have any reason to discontinue a stellar athletic program.
Well, thank you for that, and I appreciate the success of your team. However, I think that's still something the Borough Council needs to consider. And then also, along those same lines, you mentioned in your presentation that Duquesne had used that field for 15 years and discontinued using the field and eliminated their baseball program. So something like that could happen. Perhaps you don't think it would happen to your program, and I understand that. But I wouldn't want Green Tree to end up in a boat where we have paid to have a field, have artificial turf, and then we can't afford to replace it. We have one less baseball field. So I just think council should consider that. And that's why I wanted to ask these questions before you left, Jim. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to say, I
Oh, no, can I answer that real quick?
I don't know the dance.
Excuse me, do you have an estimate of after the 10 to 12 years? We have turf over at the high school, and I know it doesn't cost another $1.2 million to replace the turf or fix the turf. Do you have a cost estimate of what, after the 10 to 12 years, what you're not replacing the whole field, you're gonna replace the beads and the things that are underneath it. So do you have that estimate at all?
The estimate that you are told typically to replace a field that is intact and structurally sound.
For the most part, you are hearing somewhere between $700 to maybe $800,000 to replace that at that point. That's a wonderful question you asked.
Well, because the, KO's going through it. That had turf for over. And. No. Okay. I'm certain everyone has the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. As a proud Peace Homeless baseball mom and living that life of travel and college and whatnot, I want to thank you for coming in here and what the potential that it could bring to our community. I know as a travel baseball mom, my son played on 4 teams every summer, so we traveled a lot. That was our vacation. We stayed where the team told us to stay because that's what we were expected to do. So I appreciate that. I know that I can tell me what city you played in, I'll tell you where we ate because that's where we went. So I thank you for that. I thank you for your open and honesty bringing it to us. And I did have a question. I think what he was saying is the replacement value is obviously not going to be where it is now. And it's something that we can plan for if we know it's 10 years. I do know that field has had a lot of love on it. And it would be great to see it revitalized for our high school students as well as you, because they are working towards college scholarships. And playing at home is a definite advantage. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I apologize, I just found out my son is a baseball practice, but so I just have 2 questions. One was about naming rights. How would you, how would those be relegated? Would the borough have control of those naming rights? Any indigenous on what those would entail? I don't know if we end up having UPMC at Point Park, or we end up having, Donald Trump Inc. at Point Park or anything like that, but yeah, it's just, in terms of what that would do.
Great question. We have conversations with corporate sponsors who are interested in helping sponsor the field and help us cover the gap of the cost. They are not Donald Trump Inc. They're established companies within the Pittsburgh area. Can't really say more until we have the rights to it. So I think our intent is to use that money to help with the field and any future rights. Helping any potentially fund to pay for the next.
I guess my other question would just be, as you're talking about having a lot more growth with hosting other conferences, championships, tournaments, things like that. With the crowd sizes you were talking about, as far as I know, there's currently no seating around there really. Would you envision there need to be bigger developments to handle those kind of crowds and those kind of venues? And how would you envision that would be coordinated with the borough?
Well, there is minimal seating right now behind home plate, but it's minimal. And I would love to be able to sit there and say, we need to increase the seating at the ball field because we've got people standing around the fences and all that. What a great problem to have. It wouldn't be a problem. It would be something that if we are going to increase the capacity of that field, that would be on the university to increase that. But again, it'd be a great problem to have. It's a great question. But yeah, right now, how many can our stands hold technically? 200-300, but not everyone's sitting in the stands, Spread out. A baseball mom has a really comfortable chair to sit in, right? So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Anyone else?
As a former college athlete, for softball myself, so I 100% lived that life. As the player, I can definitely say that as a school, and where I played in upstate New York, we had the rain, we had snow. We did not, as my college did not have a field, so we were at the mercy of area high schools. Having a reliable field and program tremendously elevates that community. But also thinking to your point of big pictures of continuation, and if you're going for a weekend, maybe other colleges or even high schools could use that for a tournament themselves on those weekends. So I think the expansion possibility is definitely great. And as far as the baseball mom said, staying in the area, coaches don't like to schlep 2 hours to a game and then another 20 minutes between the field. Everyone wants to be directly there, and word of mouth is great between coaches and players amongst each other. But certainly as a Green Tree resident, I think it's a great investment opportunity, and I think definitely check all the fine print and all the bean counting, but I definitely think this is something to very much look at with an encouraging eye.
Thank you so much. Well,
One final comment.
okay, one final comment.
Again, appreciate the presentation and, the vision you have for the field. I don't know where we're gonna land on this partnership, but looking back in the past 15 years, it seems like you guys were over there playing baseball, you may have talked to Bonnie here and there, but there wasn't really a partnership between Point Park and Green Tree. I think moving forward, something you can think about is like, maybe a sponsorship to the Green Tree Athletic Association, or maybe some of your players helping out some of our kids, so there's more of a, community type of partnership moving forward.
And those are things that we have thought about, camps, for the youth and different things to get involved with the community.
Right.
But the biggest challenge right now for us is just where are we gonna practice,
Yeah.
have our next practice, where are we gonna have our next game, and that's been a lot to deal with, but we would love to,
We would absolutely love to do that, and one of the NCAA Division II principles is life in the balance, and talking about community service and giving back. We have only been an NCAA institution for less than a year now, and that's something that our student athletes are now getting out into the community and really doing those things. So we would absolutely do that, not just with baseball, but all of our student athletes, because Green Tree is our neighbor. 6 minutes away.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, and we'll get back to you very shortly, okay? Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, guys.
Thank
Thank
you. So this time, we will move to agenda item number 5, hearing of the citizens. If there's any citizen that would like to speak, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and
Sam Celotek, 1195 Green Tree Road. A quick shout out to the Aiken Mom Crew Relay Team for crushing the Pittsburgh Marathon and repping our borough. So yay them, they all. I'd like to say a few thank yous to the Green Tree Fire Company, our Public Works Department, and the Green Tree Police Department for working around the clock to ensure the safety of Green Tree residents and those passing through our borough. Additionally, I want to shine a spotlight on some of our citizen heroes over the last several days. Christopher Allen Croft, Tina Jadovic, Christopher Kratzley, and Jan Andansky worked tirelessly to help coordinate and deliver generators to neighbors without power, check in on residents, and connected with neighbors to help understand and advocate for their needs. They also took the time to share information and engage with residents while we move through the aftermath of the storm. I want to give a very special and heartfelt thank you to Green Tree's Tyler Dersham, owner of Mario's Pizza. Not only did he cook over 600 pounds of wings that he gave out to the community members for free, he also donated pizza and supplies to the community meal. Finally, I want to thank the mayor, Mr. Rea, for helping coordinate relief efforts, for advocating and working to get residents emergency charging stations, food waste dumpsters, and I want to thank Mr. Rea and the mayor for coming to Saturday's community meal to connect with Green Tree residents and understand the needs that still existed following the storm. It doesn't take long to see that many of our neighbor and peer communities are outperforming Green Tree in sharing information and taking the time to communicate with residents by posting critical information on social media. Crafton, Dormont, and Mount Lebanon shared hazardous areas in the community, road closures, whether parks were safe for play, what efforts the local government was undertaking in the community, highlighting the work of the fire departments, the police departments, their public works, and thanking community members for stepping up in the time of need. Crafton, Dormont, and Mount Lebo highlighted community organized efforts. Mount Lebo shared the status of their emergency declarations for the community and the impact that declaration would have. They gave updates on Duquesne Light, even if that was just to say there were no updates, and to offer empathy and recognition for the citizens' situations. It's been 5 months since the development of the Communications and Community Engagement Committee, and I see truly no earnest effort to improve the quality of communication and engagement for our borough. We need you to be advocating for a dedicated part-time borough communications manager to rectify our communication shortcomings, to manage social media, websites, reinstate our weekly e-newsletter. You need to be connecting and engaging with community members to understand resident needs, not just your friends or immediate neighbors. In the vacuum created by your absence and the lack of policy and procedures around communications, Green Tree residents had to again resort to unofficial channels to get information. This is a continued trend with this council. Give your positions minimal effort, only to the extent indicated by the law. When citizens come to you with improvement ideas or requests, we are met with excuses on why it can't be done or why the situation is much more complicated than we think. I'm so tired of living under this council's willing mediocrity. I need someone to step up. Aside from Mr. Ray and the mayor, whose efforts are often quelled or dismissed by the 6 others sitting up there. I need someone who doesn't tell me why we can't, but works through it and finds a way to get some of it done. I'm not asking for perfection. I know it won't always work and it won't always be right, and that's fine. I'm just asking you to start to try to work for us, to give us your sincere and solid efforts. Thank you.
Couple things I want to discuss. First is the short, hopefully, I live on Elmhurst Road, as I said, which is right off the Green Tree Road. So we all know where our street is. So when you have an option to turn left or right and turn onto Green Tree Road. So there's a visibility issue with trees. The homeowners are supposed to trim their trees so we can see, and we know how everybody flies up and down Green Tree Road. It's a safety issue. So the borough asked the kids that bought the new dome house on the corner there to trim their trees back. They did. They got a phone call back and said, you didn't trim enough. So they went and trimmed more. So now if you're sitting at your car waiting to turn left or right on your Green Tree Road, if you turn right, they trim their trees. You can see at the very top of the hill, you can see all traffic going both ways. For the last couple of years, I know this isn't the first time the council has heard about the tree trimming that I'm talking about. Jean and John that live at 6 Elmhurst Road have been asked repeatedly to trim theirs back because you can only see 2 houses up to Linda's house and that's it. So if a car is flying down Green Tree Road and you go to pull out thinking it's safe because the trees there make you think there's only, you can only see beyond 2 houses. What do you do if you pull out, if you're a school bus or if you're me or one of my neighbors on Elmhurst? You pull out and here comes one of those speed boys going down Green Tree Road. So I'm just curious why the borough is asking, there are 2 houses on both corners. They're asking not once, not twice for the kids to trim their trees back, and they did. But every time they ask 6 Elmhurst Road to do so, they say go pound salt. So I need you guys to do something about it. It's been going on enough. Enough is enough.
It's 6 Elmhurst.
Yeah, 6 Elmhurst. So.
Mr. House has been in contact with him. I've reminded him to contact that, that particular property. Last update I got was February 21st, and he had forgotten to get that. Maybe you can address that.
Yeah, make sure. Okay, great. Okay, just for, considering tonight, my next issue is about the storm, how it was handled, how it wasn't handled.
So I would like to exclude the mayor from all of my comments because I'm aware of his efforts and I think he has done and is doing a fine job. So when I refer to council, when I refer to council, I'm referring to council members as well as the manager. I'm allowed talkers, get the product I even need. Okay. I'm a registered Democrat. My politics are center, left center, but I strongly believe when it comes to local politics, party doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're red or blue. It really, really doesn't. State and federal, absolutely. But local politics, it doesn't matter. My case in point is, again, I'm a staunch Democrat. And I'm aware of the fact that there is only one Republican on council. And I feel he is the only one, especially over the last week, that has been stepping up, showing up, doing the work, asking the right questions, and proving his passion for this community and every single taxpaying member in it. And then you have Tina Godovic, who is she's not even a council member. And over the last week, I have gotten message after message on all the Green Tree sites. Apparently, I just recently learned we have a Green Tree Unity a Green Tree Connect app. I was unaware of this until yesterday. But there are multiple pages out there, and here's a non-council member. She is running for council, and she absolutely has my vote after this week. Because morning, noon, and night, every single day since that 10-minute horrific storm, she has been online communicating with all of the Green Tree community. We have a generator. Who can I bring it to? My kids are off school because of the power outage. They can come and clean up anybody's yard. How can we help as a family? How can my kids help? What can I do for you? She has stepped up and gone above and beyond, and as one individual who isn't even on council, she's done more than all of you combined. Now, Dave Bray, same thing. Now, it's pretty telling when I say I think we need to shake the Etch-a-Sketch, and it's time for new leadership, because all I see is Dave Bray caring about the budget and how all of these taxpayer dollars are spent. And then you have non-council members stepping up, doing what I believe is council member responsibilities. So during the storm, how many of you got on foot and went door to door, especially to the neighborhoods that are and were, still are and were with no power whatsoever? None. But I'll tell you what, you'll get on foot and you'll knock on doors when you want votes. So when it's self-serving, okay, then you'll get in your car and you'll drive around the community and you'll ask for votes. But when your neighbors are suffering, your neighbors, the president of our fire department, his chimney collapsed. I could go on and on with all the stories. So when you want to vote, when it's self-serving, well, you're just walking all over the neighborhoods, aren't you? Because it's self-serving. It's about you. You want your seat. But once you got your seat, what are you doing about keeping it? What are you doing about proving that you earned that seat and that you're passionate and that you care about the community? So this Democrat thinks the only person on council that really proves with his actions that he cares and that he deserves a seat up there is Dave Ray. Regarding the Green Tree Connect app, I was told the borough manager was using the Green Tree Connect app to communicate. Well, I didn't know there was a Connect app until recently. What percentage of our community is tech savvy or senior citizens? Like, how many of what percentage, how many members of our community are aware that they had to go on this specific app to get information? It goes automatically to your phone. It can go automatically to your email.
If you're aware of it.
We launched it 2 years ago, so I would like to think most community knows about it. If you put it in every single.
I wasn't aware.
And it's on the front page of our website.
But there are multiple other pages
where Tina and Dave and others were reaching out to the community actively. I would just think as a borough manager or as a council member, you guys would all jump on all of these pages, knowing that using whatever method of communication is out there to speak to the community. And regarding the dumpsters, well, I mean, should you have been asked? I mean, this seems like a 101 thing. I mean, there's debris all over this community. I would think that would be the first thing that popped in my mind, that we should have dumpsters available for people to bring all of this debris and not overwhelm our garbage. Yeah,
If you're speaking of the tree debris,
all debris regarding this storm,
as far as the tree debris goes, we're asking you to simply leave it in the curb.
all debris,
We'll come and
food,
pick it up.
whatever, all debris regarding the storm.
Yeah.
That's dumpster worthy. But it seems like a little too hard of an effort had to be put forth to get this dumpster. It took a lot of people calling the borough for something that I think is a 101 issue that the borough should have thought of themselves.
Well, I can tell you that we did not get one single request from a dumpster from a resident through the offices. Now, I know it did come up through the social media sites, and then it was.
I'm sorry?
The phones were off on Wednesday. I'm just saying all day Friday, all day Thursday. I'm not looking to argue with anybody. The dumpster was placed. I thank Ron Danza for that. He was able to get one much quicker than I was. So I give him credit for that. But we did not get calls from residents asking what to do with garbage. And then we did post pretty much right away that we will collect all branches. Anything, big things that people don't have any, can't even break them up. You just put them in your curb and we come through and pick them up. So that's a service that I think is good. I don't know many other communities doing that. Picking them up. Maybe I did not, that's what they're picking up out the curb. And again, I'm not looking to argue with anybody if you disagree with how we handled it.
So just to put a button on it, looking back over the last week, I expected more from council. I think you guys all except for Dave Ray, I think you guys let the community down. You're not just, there's a lot more to your position than going over the budget and getting your name. When your community's in trouble and hurting, your fellow neighbors, especially the elderly, I would expect you to get in your car and get on foot the same way you did when you were campaigning. So lastly, I would like to say, actually, I wanted to add one more thing to that. I'm a little surprised. At one point, Judy, you thought that there was 25, maybe 50 community members that were without a service. Isn't the truth that it was actually hundreds?
Actually, I believe it was. You're correct. And I misread the outage and that communication was sent to council. I gave it what I believe it is. From looking at the map, that's what I thought it was. I even had a conversation with the mayor about it. And I said, I'd rather overestimate than underestimate. So was it incorrect? It was. Was it intentional? Absolutely not. Map, if you look at the map, they have numbers on the map and I use those numbers. I don't read Duquesne with power outage map frequently. So that is 100% on me. I had 2 emails about that and I explained that to both of you.
If you would have reached out to the chair of the public safety, he could have given you the accurate, he knows how to read the Duquesne power outage. But you didn't.
Okay,
But David, I will say, when I gave you that number, it would have been helpful to me if you would have responded and say, Judy, that number is not. It is, I looked at it and it's this number and I would.
I did, I gave you all the streets. I'm not gonna argue with you.
Dave was aware of not only the streets that were down, but he can name the actual families. He's very in touch with the community. And I would just, the last thing I want to say about my disappointment in council and why I think new leadership is necessary. Last year, the Green Tree newsletter, I can't remember the story, but there was a photograph of all of you, of the council. There was one person missing. Who wants to take a guess at that one council member that was not included in that picture? Dave Ray. was reading the newsletter, I saw the photograph, I'm looking for Dave, he's not there, and everybody's names are listed below the photograph. And so I sent him an email and I said, why aren't you in this picture? He wasn't even aware the photo was being taken. Not a single one of you asked him, not a single. Now, when I go online and I refer to your behavior as mean girls, this mean girls behavior has to stop. We expect you to be professional, mature, and to work together, not against each other. So don't think we don't notice things like this childish mean girls behavior. Don't think we in the community don't notice that. Not one single one of you called him and said, we're taking a photo of council. He lives how many blocks away? He couldn't have been there? That was intentional and you all know it. So shame on you for that. Don't think we don't see and notice the way you don't communicate with him. He sends you emails and then you say, oh, you didn't get, I didn't get it. The last meeting I went to, Shannon said to Dave, you didn't send me that message. He said, yeah, I did. The next day, I was walking my dog, went to his house. I made him pull up and show me proof that he sent her the message, and he did. So this mean girl's behavior, it's gotta stop, it's gotta end. I think we need to shake the Etch-a-Sketch clean. And again, I'm a staunch Democrat. The Green Tree Unity campaign, the Republicans and Democrats, both on there, they are all great candidates and they will all work together. And Tina Godovic, she should be running this borough as far as I'm concerned. Morning, noon, and night over the last 7 days, she has been working tirelessly to prove how she feels about this community and every member in it. And I would love, after I sit down, to open up the mic, and I would love to hear what each of you have done over the last week for your community. And that's all I have to say.
I want to follow up that. John Collier, 57 Rose Avenue. Now, anybody that's been in the borough as long as I have remembers the tornado that came through this borough. When was that? 2002?
Yeah.
2002. Little story. I was on my way home from work when that tornado hit Green Tree. I was on Route 28 and it looked like it was midnight up on Mount Washington. By the time I got to my street, the sun was out. And when I drove up to Rhodes Avenue and got to the crest of the hill, it looked like I was in a war zone because there was ambulances, there was fire trucks, there was people, firemen, policemen, taking care of all this debris that was all over the place. And as a matter of fact, a neighbor behind me in the alley had an aluminum shed that was picked up by that tornado and it was taken over top of the houses, four houses down, and wrapped around the tree right by the tennis court. But when this storm came through, I didn't see anything like that. You know what I did see? I did see the borough group, borough workers, and I appreciate them, come up because we had 2 trees down across the street at Wilson Park and a lamppost. And I don't know, well, the wire wasn't live because we had no electric, everything went down because the transformer blew. I did see them move some of that tree, but when they left, part of that tree was still in the road. And nobody moved that tree onto the sidewalk and off the road. Now, I should have called that night, not secondhand now thinking, and reported it because maybe somebody would have come up and moved that tree. My concern was, as nightfall was coming, with that tree in the road, with no cones, no flares or anything like that, people coming up and down that road, I'm sure everybody on Park Edge and Sheldon saw it, that tree could have caused an accident. Somebody could have got killed. Because if you were going down roads towards Sheldon, and you saw that tree, you had to swerve into the other lane to get around it. And then I heard a story, and I don't know how true it is, that the reason none of that stuff was taken care of is because we didn't want to pay overtime to borough maintenance crews that night. Now, if that's true, that's pretty sad.
I can speak to that. That was not true. The, police dispatch, public works when they feel they're necessary to come out. And they will not dispatch. In fact, the only call to the public works superintendent was from our fire chief.
So, I don't know. Any firemen here? Know these guys?
Actually,
Weren't you guys out there moving that tree on Wilson Park?
Some of our guys.
Okay, I did see some of them. I don't understand why they left the tree partway out the road. Or I just don't understand why it was done like that. I'm just trying to bring it to your attention that you had a very serious condition that could have caused somebody's death because it wasn't taken care of. And again, I apologize, I should have called 911 and reported it.
yeah, because that would dispatch immediately.
But again, the maintenance guys were there, I figured they were gonna take care of it. I thought they were gonna come back and start chopping it up, to be honest with you.
There was no maintenance guy.
Was there fire?
There was 2 fire guys coming up on their way till they called and pulled it off.
Okay,
They didn't have saws, they didn't have chippers, they don't.
did they notify anybody about the tree being down in the street?
I don't know if they did or not.
Okay.
I know the police station.
That's my concern. If the police knew by it, why wasn't that tree moved? Okay? Thank you.
Morgarella, 179 Arla Drive. So I'm here today. I just have a couple quick statements and I have a couple questions. All of us here from Green Tree, for the most part, are here, live in Green Tree. We love Green Tree. We take pride in this community. We care about each other. We have each other's backs. But at least that's what I assumed. Until I learned some really great information this past weekend. That I am severely and utterly disappointed in this council. Most of you are parents up there, correct? Most of you have kids. Some point or another, I know, as all of our kids, they get bullied, right? Most of the time, the kids don't deserve it. They get bullied from other kids who have other issues, and unfortunately, we have to teach our kids how to handle that kind of bullying, right? You have to have those difficult talks. You have to be more nervous for your kids going back out. It sucks, right? For those of you who yet have not had your kids been bullied, I pray that you don't ever get there. What I learned today and a couple days ago, which I will go on record, but without saying the names, of 2 current council members who, there are young people in our community who want to participate in this community, which is rare. There are not a lot of young adults in this community who care about their community. They're out doing other things, they're worried about their careers, they're doing other things, who actively participate and want to help build their community, who went out and did things to prevent them furthering their careers, who did things by reporting them, things that were not true. I am utterly disappointed in these council members who did that. Especially for the ones that I know, I thought were good people. I had their backs. This community will know how you treated your fellow community members. They will know who you are, just so you're aware.
Maureen Callis, Forest Drive. I just want to talk about communication for a hot minute because communication is key in everything in life. I think I've said that a couple times before. And it was a disappointment to me in the communication that we received from council. I truly feel that I'm a gracious person. I love living in Green Tree. I chose to move here. I like being in the community. I'm not as active as I used to be because I have grandchildren. But I actually tried to draft an email to thank you for some of the things that you've done, especially Mr. Ray, thank you for the dumpster, because I didn't think to call anybody. I was just truly distraught because like a lot of people, like, what do? I have never lost power this long. And we live in an electrical hub on Forest Drive, so my power goes off all the time, but not for 3 days. My husband lives on oxygen, of which he didn't have any for 2.5 days. So really what was in my refrigerator wasn't my biggest concern. It was making sure he could breathe. So, I don't know, maybe that's not important to you, but it is to me, because he's my husband. But when I went to draft an email to all of you, a very simple thing. I click on Borough Council. Not all of the Borough Council members are on there. On the Borough Council email highlight. The two new ladies, and I apologize because I don't remember your names, are not on there, so I had to look you up individually. I had to add Miss Miller individually to my group email. I'm 59 years old. I'm extremely well versed in computer whereabouts. I work for a living in a major school district in the area. I'm very communicative, and it took me and challenged me to try to write an email to you. As you all know, I just lost my 93-year-old father, so when I speak for the elderly as well as the young. How are we expecting our elderly or aging people in our community, and we have a large amount of those here in Green Tree, how are we expecting them to speak for themselves if something as simple as sending an email was a challenge for me? So maybe, how long have these ladies been on council? How many months now? I should be able to click one button. Send all. So thank you for your time.
Christine Short, 251 Park Edge. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mayor Shank and David Ray for showing up on Saturday. The community was there. I was very disappointed that current council did not show up on Saturday. This is your community. Where were you? You know, I mean, you got this, even though it's election year, it's not about that. It's about the community. And I was disappointed that you folks weren't there. Yeah. On another note, I was also disappointed because somebody dropped the ball here. We can't, when we have weather that we had and the electric went out. Okay, we can't control that, but there should have been communication at that door saying, okay, the fire department back room is open. Why did these folks have to wait almost a day and a half? There should have been a note on that door, since there was nothing going on here, but yet the fire department was available. Again, we have elderly people. I'm a caregiver to my 93-year-old mother. I had to go over to the city to get her to bring her back to a dark house. But, you know, at least I knew I was able to get electric to do her hearing aids, to her mobile alert. But I want to know, do we or do we not have a emergency management team? I was at that meeting when there was a lot of controversy. So where was that emergency person at? Where was he or she? Yeah. And again, communication is the key. There should have been a sign at that door, and there should have been something else. Social media works. A lot of people don't have it, and I don't know what this council is going to do to understand that certain apps aren't going to work for the elderly. So I hope this current council, David, I'm leaving you out of it, but I hope this current council learns from this disaster that we just had. Thank you.
Christopher Allen Croft. 252 Park Edge, 1000 Green Tree Road, and 996 Green Tree Road. I just have two questions. Number one is going to be the app. We keep talking about the app. Do we know how many people have downloaded that app? Do we have a rough estimate of how many have downloaded?
We looked a while back,
Okay.
and it was somewhat indefinitive because you can't tell who has just the app or just email.
Okay, the only reason I ask is if there's a large difference, obviously, of people that have the app and people that are residents of Green Tree, obviously, some sort of an emergency management board or something should have gone up. I mean, my mom has the app, but sometimes it gets, lost and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of people, being one of the people who was kind of out in the streets trying to figure out what was going on, because I know a lot of people in this community because I grew up in this community. Secondly, the emergency management plan.
I called up to the borough, to try to get a copy of that. Kim was wonderful. They told me that I have to file a right to know as a community member to see the emergency management plan. Is that accurate?
I typically any documents of the borough, we do ask for that, and it should be online, which we can post it online, but it is in the.
Certainly, I just wanted to make sure that I asked on
Yeah,
that.
it's once, I think that it's at a place where it should be on, it will just be a link on the website.
Perfect. And last but not least, as a leader myself, or quite a few employees and managing a company, when the storm happened, I immediately jumped into action, which I would assume anyone, and I'm not talking about jumping into action for the community, that's neither here nor there, I did that as well, but as someone that is a leader of our community, which I'm looking at every single one of you up there, with the exception of our solicitor, he wasn't supposed to be hanging out water. It wasn't necessary. What happened was, yes, what happened, we've learned that that's a common theme. But what I'm saying is, as a leader, what happens is you jump into action. You've accepted a position of leadership, whether that is whatever level of leadership that you say you are in. And the lack of leadership that happened when one of the biggest storms in my 40 years of being in Green Tree is terrifying. I mean, there were community members that were out in the street trying to figure out what they were going to do to open the garage door, what they were going to do to go and get their prescriptions, what they were going to do to make sure that their pets were okay. I mean, it was the biggest incident I've seen since I've been here, and I've lived here for 38 years. So again, I didn't see any of you out there, not a single one of you. And it's just disappointing. That's it. It's just this, and I know you have your own things, but when you campaign to be up there, and when you campaign to be a part of leadership of this community, the very least that you could have done was taken one walk in the streets to see if everybody was okay. Just taking one walk to see if the trees were. There was nothing done in this community except for the people that live in the community to report to people that there were trees down, or where you shouldn't go to try to help someone to get a generator. Or, I mean, the mismanagement of this emergency should terrify every single person in this community. And if that's not enough to change what's happening up there, I don't know what is.
One 143 Sheldon Avenue, 15220. First of all, I want to go back to the Point Park discussion just very briefly. We all forgot to give our names and addresses during that segment. So just in case anything we said during that time would be stricken from the record, afterwards, we all can give our names and addresses to him, if that's okay. Okay. So first of all, I'm shocked that no agenda item is listed here on the official agenda, anything to do with the storm. It's like it didn't happen, if you look at this agenda. So that's the first thing. Now, maybe you guys are planning to address it in each of your individual reports tonight, and you'll say how finance is affected by the storm, how infrastructure was affected by the storm, how public facilities, you get my drift. That would be nice if you could do it during your individual reports. Next, just to ask, the storm's not over. I believe there's still people and businesses in Green Tree without power. I'm just wondering, if anyone here in this room doesn't have power right now, can you please raise your hand? So that maybe we can. Okay, that's good. But I know there are people in Green Tree that still do not have power. And maybe they should contact the borough office and report their names and addresses. There's repeatedly been said that no phone calls were getting through, and that, you know, it's on the app and it's on the computer. Wi-Fi was out, electricity was out, computers were out. You couldn't contact anyone. So I can't see how you can say that. Most importantly, I think there should be a workshop meeting or a subsequent council meeting scheduled to address this in more detail, particularly after public comments and your response to us. So I think in the near future, and I hate to say this perhaps for your own good, that should be scheduled before the election. So I think to have a workshop meeting or a council meeting like that would be a good idea and soon. to address the borough's response. I know you folks aren't responsible for the power outage, but you could have been, done more to help. This is not over yet, and it could happen again. So even in the next few days. So we need an emergency plan. We need to know who's in charge of the emergency plan, and we need to know whether the emergency plan includes power outages. I have some points that I want to make, some questions that you guys should be asking. Is there a generator in this building, in the borough building? Is there a generator at the fire hall? I know that the answer to that question is yes. Do the emergency call boxes outside this building and the emergency call box at the fire hall, do they work when the power is out? Someone should find that out. I haven't had an opportunity to check if the one at the fire hall only responds, it only connects with the fire department, or it also connects with the police. I believe this one connects with the police. We need to know the capabilities of those generators, and perhaps any firemen or public works people we have here can tell us about that. But communication was very lacking in this event. There's a lot of talk about communication. There's even a committee that talks about communication. But it's not happening, and it particularly doesn't happen when the power is out. To send out communication, look online, check the borough website, whatever it is, when the power is out, none of that works except for person-to-person communication. Now, so that's very important. And the borough building needed to be open, whether there was electricity or not.
Yep.
So that people could come to the borough building for information. It is not out of the realm of possibility and should have been anticipated that residents would have come looking for their leaders and would have come to borough facilities like the fire hall and the borough building asking and looking for help.
Yeah.
So that's very important. And what we needed here was low-tech communication. As Ms. Short said, we needed signs on the doors. And I've talked about signs before, like when we're having a swimming pool meeting. Put a sign at the pool.
Exactly.
But anyway, I talked about this before. So what we needed was, at the very least, let's say folks thought it was unsafe to have people in the borough building without the lights on. Well, then what we needed was someone at a table and chairs outside the borough building. There was not bad weather on Wednesday. Tuesday night, it happened during shortly before a Meet the Candidates night. I came up here and I did see several council people there. Of course, at the time, we all thought it was just going to be a short couple-hour power outage. Of course. I talked to several council members that evening and reported trees down on Sheldon Avenue. And I know one particular council person who was on the phone speaking with the borough manager about those kind of things. I'm not going to use any names here because I want to save for perhaps some people some embarrassment. But anyways, there should have been somebody with a table and chairs outside giving information, resources, emergency information, but also just regular kind of information like which Giant Eagle is open. Are the street lights out? Traffic lights. Which intersections may be blocked? This could have been information that even the citizens could have reported, like I did on Tuesday night, right after this happened. I talked to this particular council member and told that person what trees I had found on Sheldon Avenue on my way to the meeting. Somebody should have had a table and chairs outside giving information about, and if anybody had any particular problems, like, medicine needing to be refrigerated or oxygen or whatever. And if that had been done, then emergencies can be prevented perhaps. And then you don't need to call the police, you don't need to call the fire department. People had their cars locked in their garages, as someone mentioned, you can't get your door up, those kind of things. Now I understand the borough couldn't do everything, but I think the borough should have done better, especially immediately after the storm. I came up here on Wednesday morning. The borough building was closed. The only sign said, borough building closed, no power. There sure should have been something else. And I know it says on the board, on the sign pre-printed, on the door. If you need help, call the police with the call box. But I'm talking about non-emergency kind of things. So that's another thing. And the remarks I'm making are not just for, our current elected officials. It's for all of us. We all could have done better. And we all should do better, and we all should be making a list of things that we can do better. And on my list is coming and speaking at this meeting tonight, so I'm checking off one of them. This is constructive criticism that I believe we are all offering. We all can do better, and this needs to be a learning experience for all of us. Now, one moment here. Give me one moment. Okay. What I'm going to say next is probably going to make some people unhappy, but I think it's necessary. I stopped up here at the borough, as I said, looking for leaders, looking for information. My phone was out, my internet was out, my cable was out, you know, the phone, everything, my, cell phone dead, those kind of things. And of course, that's going to happen eventually to everyone, even if you can charge your cell phone. Somebody might have been stupid, or I shouldn't say stupid, but not good judgment, and might try to charge their cell phone in their garage with their car running or something and be asphyxiated or something like that. So eventually your phone battery is going to die. So anyways, it was going to happen to everybody sooner or later, that we all were going to be without a way to get to the outside world. So personal contact signs, old school, do things the old fashioned way, pen and paper out in front of the borough building with a chair and tables. We set up chairs and tables for Oktoberfest. We have chairs and tables we're going to have for the day before Mother's Day. There's an overhang right out here in front of the building that's used by the garden club to sell, the raffle tickets or whatever. Okay. So what I'm going to say next is going to make some people unhappy, and I'm sorry about that. When I came here on April 30th on Wednesday, looking for our leaders, looking for information, I found the borough building door locked. But, and the same sign, as I said, that was on from the night before. Just by chance, I had a chance encounter with the borough manager, Ms. Miller, that morning at approximately 10 a.m. She was at her car, and someone else that I was talking to, I was checking on neighbors who just happened to be at the borough building parking lot. I had a conversation with a few, and Ms. Miller came over to talk to the person that I was talking to. I had a conversation with Ms. Miller. And I just want to sort of summarize it if I could. So I asked about the generator at the fire hall. I had mentioned the generator to the council people that I talked to on Tuesday evening, whether we had a generator in this building, and we should have had one. And if we don't have one, we should get one. Somebody should investigate. And, maybe improvements to the Point Park baseball field, those kind of things, maybe should be put on hold until we can buy a generator for the borough building. But anyways, so I asked about the generator to fire hall to the borough manager. And I also had asked the day before, I'm sorry if I'm a little bit confused here, but I'd asked about a generator. I asked about the generator at the fire hall. I know we have one at the fire hall. I've actually been there when the powers went out. And after a moment or two, it kicked back on. It was election night. I was working at the polls. I saw the generator in action. So I asked about the generator at the fire hall. I was told by the borough manager that she thought there was a generator at the borough building, at the fire hall, but she was unsure how long it would be powered. I explained to her that I believe it runs on natural gas, just like your furnace in your house, and it runs continuously as long as the gas company is sending power. You can have natural gas generators. I've even seen it on television. They exist. I believe it's Generac, and I believe that's the kind of generator we have at the fire hall. Once again, if anyone can chime in with more information after I'm done talking, that'd be terrific. So I asked about the natural gas generator. She said that, as I said, that she wasn't sure how long it would last. That generator's been there for several years. And I would think that the capabilities of the generator and the existence of generators and all that kind of thing would be part of the emergency, plan and that kind of thing. I also said to the borough manager that because the lights were on, presumably at the fire hall, or could be on because there's a generator, Why wasn't the emergency management facility or whatever moved over to the fire hall and then you could take, you could put a sign on the borough building, everybody needs help, go to the fire hall. Okay, so, and you could have a table set up over there or whatever, but anyways, so then I asked about that. Then I asked the borough manager, how I could get help if I needed to, and she said, send an email. Well, we're all out of power, our phones aren't working, we can't send email, there's no Wi-Fi. I was stunned by that, actually, but I recovered rather quickly. And I said I was very disappointed. However, in retrospect, I understand what happened here. This was an automatic reflex. She was answering just like the standard canned answer, call the borough building, send me a fax. I understand she was trying to be helpful, and I don't mean to say, this is an emergency. We all were like stunned and discombobulated, but this was 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, roughly. So perhaps she was uninformed regarding the capabilities of generators and those kind of things, and maybe she was not fully prepared yet to deal with the emergency. But anyway, I wanted to, because, there was no phone, no internet, no Wi-Fi, that wasn't going to work. She did tell me, of course, it was an emergency to call the police, and I think we, in general, could rest assured that in the event of an emergency, the police or the fire would have been there. And I did see Public Works working very good, but I think this is sort of like a prevent an emergency situation that I'm talking about. Now, also, I'm available after the meeting if anyone wants to talk to me. I welcome anyone who wants to talk to me after the meeting. Now, I want to end on a positive note. Several people have said good things that have happened in Green Tree in recent days. And I want to talk about a picnic that was held on Sheldon Avenue by several of my Sheldon Avenue neighbors. They set up a deluxe gas grill. Once again, I'm not going to name names, but they had a deluxe gas grill, and they invited the neighbors over so that we could have a picnic and use the food we were going to have to throw away anyways. And there was a very nice picnic. There were quite a few neighbors that were invited in that general vicinity. And we had so much food, once again, that we had to get rid of. The hosts of the party started inviting people off the street who were walking by, who were complete strangers to us. And we got to meet several new neighbors that day. They were a little hesitant because they didn't know us, but they were hungry. So they joined us. So I wanted to end on that positive note, but I think there's plenty of blame to go around. I think there's plenty of room for improvement, and I think we all need to do so. Thank you very much. Sorry to talk so long.
Hello, Don Folkmeyer, 1006 Apple Drive. I thought a hearing of the citizens was supposed to be 3 to 5 minutes.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll address that. I feel if you're a citizen, and you want to express what you would like to council, I'm gonna give you all the time in the world.
Yeah.
I understand that, Ron. But it could be after the meeting.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you.
Somebody stand up for 25 minutes.
Hold on, he never caught off point though. Everything
I'm
he
not
spoke,
saying he was, I'm just saying it's
I'm
supposed
just
to be
saying.
3 to 5 minutes.
I understand, but tonight's a special night.
I understand, but it was last month too.
So, let me address that. There's no policy that's 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was 3 to 5
No, there's
minutes.
not, no,
It's not.
we have meeting guidelines over there and it doesn't establish a set.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you.
So there.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you. We're kidding.
I don't wanna beat a dead horse, I think everyone's pretty much said, the things that I wanna say, Tammy being 55 Burns Avenue, just got power on last night, thank you. But, the two people that did come to the community meal, Mayor Shake and, Mr. David Ray, and there were many people that are in the audience that helped out with that meal. And I don't know everyone's name, but if you would raise your hand, so everyone knows if you were involved in that Minimal, as someone might think that was from me, and, at this time, only myself and my daughter, were at home at the time, but, we were tired of going out to restaurants and, you know, buying food left and right. It was a nice gesture for them to put that together very fast, for the community, and, it was nice to just be able to sit and talk and, share stories. I will tell you that, I remember the tornado. My twins were, a year and ran down into the basement, and their property was destroyed, and so were many others in my area. The response was, pretty bad. And I know it, not just our community, but all communities, when you go through something like this, you need to revisit how things were handled. Everybody, even, you know, ourselves, like, okay, I should have this on hand. Like, I'm now thinking, okay, get the solar lights, you know, like on Amazon, ordering stuff, left and right, so I can be more prepared. And, what's that?
Battery operated.
Yeah, the being prepared. So it was, the most important thing was, I think, the community, and the neighbors stepping up for one another, and being there when people in your position were not. So, you know, as far as like the picnic, we kind of did that as well. And stepped up for each other, anything we needed. Tina, on social media, like that was my only source, and then she would say,
Exactly.
what streets still don't have power? I'm like, still 6 on roads, still 6 on roads. Offered her generator, and then by that time I said, this is the home stretch, you know, the hardest part was the beginning. And I think that if we would have responded, stronger in the beginning, that, you wouldn't have as many complaints as you're having at this time. So thank you to everybody who stepped up. We met some new people, and, this is when you have adversity, this is when you really see who your friends are, and is this the community I want to live in? And I think that, through, you know, everyone stepping up for one another, reaching out, people didn't even know when they saw that I still didn't have power. Some woman, I don't even think Green Tree Road, she was like, you can come over just to talk, you know, charge something. One of my neighbors, we ran when most of the neighborhood got power back except for the 6 of us. I know. We ran 5 extension cords from their house on, what is it, West Manila, across Reed Alley to my house on Rhodes, so that I could have, just, you know, charging. And, you know, I did the whole cooking of the food, got to go back too, but thank you, community. You know, this makes me proud to, be friends and be in this community, and this is why I continue to build back up, and I'll get like 50, you know, renovations to my house. On another note, just wondered how the ordinance was going for parking on Rhodes Avenue. That is not just for me, overnight parking, it's for all of the neighbors, even though I did make a funny and said, you know, it was for me. I didn't know how that would be, how do we proceed with that? Has there been any discussion?
Not yet, but I know.
Okay, I mean, I know it's like on the back burner, but I just wanted to make sure that it was still fresh in your mind.
I'll make sure it's on that.
And so how would I know moving forward, like the stance of the council?
Call me anytime.
Call you anytime. Got it. All right, thank you.
Oh, I guess not. Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and say anything? Okay, well, at this time, then we will start our committee reports. And the first is Finance and Borough Administration by Mr. Tintori. However, Ms. Schwartz will be taking this over tonight.
All right, I move to ratify the actions of the borough manager in paying April 2025 invoices from the general fund totaling $20,527.19. Payroll account fund totaling $219,075.57. Educational Service Agency Fund totaling $5,339.50. And credit card for February 2025 totaling $7,954.21.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion and second has been made. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? That motion passed.
All right, make a move to approve payment of the May 2025 invoices from the general fund totaling $121,956.20. Storm sewer fund totaling $15,639.82. Sanitary sewer fund totaling $912,879.71. And capital projects fund totaling $4,734.64.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Okay, they introduced ordinance number 1908, setting wages and benefits for the full-time borough employees. I move that we pass ordinance number 1908, setting wages and benefits for full-time borough employees.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I believe this was on our April, council meeting, and at the time we tabled it. We were gonna have an executive discussion to talk about, some of the particulars. I had some questions. Solicitor recommended that we go to executive session to discuss. We didn't have an executive session to discuss. So I would, I'd like to make a motion to table this until we have.
Okay, we have a motion to table this. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on the motion to table? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? I think that's tabled. Okay, we're done. Is there anything else for Mr. Tintori?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Not that I have, I didn't have any notes.
Okay,
I have some questions. When's the last time that the Finance and Borough Administration Committee met?
We had an email exchange this past week. And then the last, I don't know.
We had a Zoom when you all were at that ALA.
Yes,
We had a Zoom.
so it's early April there.
Okay. Couple of things that, I've been promised updates on for, it seems, in some cases, over a year. Finance, this is coming from the meeting minutes. The Finance Committee continue to discuss the peer review and anticipate having a report prepared for the May council meeting. Do we have a report for the peer review?
That's on the May committee meeting.
No, this is what was discussed at the last council meeting.
It's gonna be discussed at the May committee meeting.
So then,
Finance.
so we'll have a report
For June.
for the June meeting.
That is the point, yes.
Great. The Finance Committee also discussed the proposed AI policy. I've been, asking about an AI policy for the last, I don't know, 6 months. I believe that the borough could be at risk if employees are misusing AI, ChatGPT, that's open source.
Correct.
Where do we stand on the AI
So,
policy?
after the, AI, workshop that we went to at ALOM, it was brought to our attention that an AI policy will need to be overarching of not only employees, but also elected officials. So
Great, so
council would
where are
be-
we on?
So we're working with Jake and talking about what policy would be good to bring into that. The original AA policy was for employees. So now we have to incorporate how that works with the elected officials.
You said original AI policy. We
There
don't
was
have
a
it in
draft concept, but we
Did I
were
share it?
looking at,
Yeah.
right,
So, Mr.
and Mr. Jake had taken a look at that.
Mr. Leland, can you give us an update on where we stand with the AI policy?
I don't have an update at this time, Mr. Ray.
Okay.
I will work with Judy this week to incorporate the elected officials portion of it.
Okay, so we can expect an update at the June
And the
meeting.
two meeting, that's okay, yes.
Great. Mr. Ray noted that at the March council meeting, the finance committee said that they would be discussing policies for performance reviews and for council members to contact contractors. Ms. Schwartz stated that these two topics would be discussed in the finance committee. Do we have an update on performance review policies and how we should be contacting?
We just
Contractors.
got some language from Jake this week, I believe, regarding the contractor communication that we have yet to review. That'll be reviewed in the next meeting.
So we can expect an update at the June meeting.
Correct. We
Mr.
just
Lee,
got it
can
from
you-
Jake this week. That's it.
Can you confirm that we're working on a policy with the contractors?
Correct. My understanding is going to committee first, but it incorporates all the provisions that we discussed previously.
Okay. And where do we stand with the performance review policy?
That I have to look back in my notes. I know we were planning to meet about the performance review policy. We were trying to get these other ones done first.
Okay, it sounds like you haven't had an in-person meeting to discuss.
We had, the last meeting we had was April, so we were kind of emailing, but we haven't been able to get everybody in one spot this month. Yes.
Mr. Ray asked the borough manager to compile a list of yearly IT costs, including internet, contracting service, and software. He said it's difficult to determine how much the borough is paying based on the bill sheets. Ms. Miller said she put a summary together for council. Do we have that summary?
I apologize, I do not.
Okay. Mr. Ray said
What all
that
did you want in that? Okay, we did all the IT and.
I want to know how much we're paying. I want a report that it's in the minutes, internet, contracting services and software, which are all in for IT related costs. I can expect that in June.
I think,
Great. Mr. Ray said that he noticed really high costs for workers' comp that appear to be higher than what is budgeted. Ms. Miller stated that she did not have information in front of her, but we did the summary to date across the council. Did we have that yet either?
that was just an error in the way it's sorted in the bill sheet, as according to the finance director, should be corrected on this month's bill sheet. Report, and if it's not, I'll make sure that it is.
Okay.
She just said that.
And this might be related, Mr. Ray asked if the pension expense on the balance sheet was due to Ms. Miller's retroactive salary that was accrued at the end of 2024. Ms. Miller stated she did not have that information in front of her, but would look into it. Pension expense on the April bill sheet seemed much higher. And I was asking if it was because of the retroactive salary that was approved at the end of 2024.
Could have been at that point in time, but I don't.
It was.
I'll look at it.
Okay. Let's see. Mr. Leland, stop me if this is more executive session. We paid attorney fees in excess, it seems like $10,000 to investigate a personnel, issue. I'm shocked at how much that cost. I'm disappointed the way it was mishandled. By the collective. The reason why I ask you about this, how we reach out to contractors, that wasn't a councilmatic action. We never had an executive session to say, let's move forward with an investigation. Pay upwards of $10,000 for that
That is not
investigation.
true, Mr. Ray. We did have an
We
executive
did not,
session.
we did not.
We all met.
I'll show you the emails.
Mr. Ray, that is not true.
We did not, I'll show you the emails, Mr. Chairman.
Prove it.
Show me on the calendar where we met. I was not there unless you met without me. And I have the emails that you unilaterally made that decision. I'll forward you the email that you can see that you made that decision on your own. Without
What decision did I make on my own, Mr. Ray? Please explain that.
seeking legal representation for the personnel issue.
Mr. Ray,
I'll show you the email, Ms. Barron.
met together.
We did not. Does anybody recall, Mr. Panther, do you recall meeting in executive session where we decided?
Yes.
To the best of my understanding.
Don't get it confused with the
To
full
the
minute.
best of my understanding, the president of council decided to go ahead with an investigation. And that was her.
Thank you.
That is the best of my understanding.
I believe they call that a second.
Thank you. Thank you for making sure my memory wasn't,
Mr. Ray, I do recall a Zoom conversation where we discussed what our options were. And we had two options
I was
provided.
not on that call, that may have been a finance committee.
No, it was a Zoom call. We had advice from legal counsel as to what they recommended our process would be. And we all discussed that we felt that was the better way to go forward.
Everybody that did.
No, Mr. Ray was.
Mr. Panza doesn't recall that meeting either.
But who made the decision? Wasn't council.
It's just getting into executive.
We really are flirting with executive
Yeah,
session right
yeah.
now.
You understand, we're giving you guys like the strategy of how we handle stuff, but I mean, we want to be open. So I'm gonna let the solicitor say if we can keep talking about it. Oh, that's right. What do you think?
I think we're talking about personnel and legal advice from special counsel on this
Can
one.
you change the scope,
We're
like David?
talking about strictly the procedural.
This is just
elements
procedure,
behind
this
it.
is just procedure.
Procedural.
Okay,
Anything beyond that.
yeah,
Is we're going into legal advice and that's privileged
This
information.
is just the procedure on
Okay, yeah.
how that.
keep it to
legal-
point.
Dave, I am looking to find where the Zoom call was set up, because I do know that we
Right.
had a Zoom call. I do
Mr.
recall
Panza
that.
does not recall it. Does anybody else recall this? I'm not gonna put anybody on the spot. Does anybody else not recall having that meeting?
I'm thinking here, my memory sometimes, I believe that we did have a Zoom call, but I think the decision had already been made to, retain an outside, person to do the investigation. And the purpose of the Zoom call was to decide, once we got the report, how we're gonna handle it. That's my best recollection.
I was, we did have a follow-up after that, but not the decision to seek legal advice.
That's what I just said.
Right, yeah, you and I agree. It sounds like Mr. Panza also agrees.
Well,
Okay,
there's two types of legal advice. The first was what would be the best process to go.
Excuse me, can I please back up here? We were, if we're going through all of the processes of this, we received an email. As borough president, I forwarded that on to our solicitor. Our solicitor told everyone I did this, made very clear that this is what we were, this is what I had done. That solicitor, and Mr. Leland gave us some advice. It then went on to our labor attorney. Both of them gave us legal advice. We then had a meeting where we talked about all of that, was a Zoom meeting. We talked about all of the options laid out to us, and everyone decided how to go from there. That is how it was done. There was no, Shannon Barron didn't make a decision to do anything. Shannon Barron, as borough president, forwarded a memo to our legal counsel, which is in our right to do. And then we, the collective, made a decision.
I would say, I do read,
No,
I will.
I
you
have
are
it
right.
right here.
I can't read it because it's,
Mr. Ray, it was on January 23rd. You were included on the email,
we can't read the email.
No,
but you were included on the email, and it was about a debrief. It was not a decision was made. It was to discuss the idea of what to do.
I don't delete emails. Can you just
I have
send
it.
that to me?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Yeah, we did have, I mean, I was like, I know we have this. Yeah, you'll have it in your email, right?
Right, it says it right there. Our agenda will be to debrief the advice of our solicitor and labor counsel and discuss the recommended course of action.
It was.
We retained, my question about policy around, I was told that I can't contact an outside contractor. Because we're one whole body and we have to make that decision on our own, or together, right? It appears that we did not decide as a council to reach out to labor council in this particular matter. Why is it okay for council president? Maybe this is something in the charter that I'm not familiar with. Why is it okay for the council president to contact legal counsel without the collective input? It's not okay for me.
Right.
It's because I think that's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
No, I'm just saying, I'm saying that's, I think the president of council has the right to contact these solicitors. Where we, as a collective, underneath the
It
president.
just appears to me it's a double standard.
My understanding, Dave, is that is how it has been in past practice, and what the draft resolution tries to do is memorialize that and then establish proper lines of communication going forward.
Okay. All right, well, then maybe moving forward, we need to address that too. Okay, that's all I have for finance and borough administration.
I have nothing else. If anyone else has any questions?
No, that's it. It is time to move on to infrastructure.
So the Holiday Mansfield storm lines, the sinkhole that developed along Holiday Drive. Due to a partial collapse of the storm sewer line that will be repaired in the coming weeks. We are waiting on an estimate of the probable cause right now. The Arla stormwater outfall restoration construction is complete, and then property restoration will take place as weather permits. The Whiskey Run Stream Bank Restoration Project, in addition to the reconstruction of retaining wall in the stream, is expected to begin in June or July. The 2025 road program bids have been received and are under review. A recommendation will then be made to the infrastructure committee, and a contract recommendation will be placed on the June agenda. Sidewalk improvements to Green Tree Road. Phase 3 construction specs are being finalized and will be placed out to bid in June. We have received $247,000 in grant funding for this project. Phase 4 was just approved for a grant in the amount of $250,000. This is $175,000 less than what was requested, and if needed, the scope of work will be adjusted to fit the grant amount that we received. A grant has been submitted for upgrades to multiple traffic lights and intersections around Noblestown Road and Mansfield Avenue. We are currently awaiting on the grant award decision, which should be announced sometime this summer. Park Edge sanitary line repairs have been completed. Dale Drive sanitary line repairs have been completed. Heckler Drive sanitary sewer, this project is complete. Restoration has been completed. There are a couple punch list items that should be completed. With regard to the Trumbull Bridge project update, we are under, the final design is underway. We have received communication that the project is approved. So borough funding at this point in time still remains at $350,000. We also do have a $500,000 multimodal grant to fund any additional expenses associated with this project. So we did get construction from the project manager that we did not have at the beginning. Fiber optic property damage. Our solicitor, Mr. Leland, continues to work with the insurance representatives on that claim. With regard to the I-376 interchange project, all of council did receive traffic data from PennDOT. What we would like to do is in conversations with the planning commission, we would like to suggest a June 9th meeting, not a workshop, but more of a meeting with all of council and the planning commission to get additional feedback from borough residents, because PennDOT would like an official communication from council all at once. So we would like to hold another meeting to get more feedback, thoughts, suggestions, so that we can then draft official communication to send to PennDOT. I would like to note that PennDOT did not agree to come to them.
I think that's a really great idea.
Is that data gonna be available to the residents to see?
the whole community is invited.
Oh, at the workshop.
When it set the date far enough in advance so that we
That's okay.
could publish it, get communication out there and make sure everybody that would want to come is aware of that date.
Okay,
But it's like a workshop meeting, but not a workshop.
I got it.
Doing it as a public meeting,
As a
Public
public
information session, if you will.
Yes,
and that is the end of my.
thank you. David, questions here? No. Next, public facilities, parks and equipment. This.
All right, okay. Public Works have a lot of trees to deal with in a lot of our parks. I know that the dugout in Point Park, the roof came off, as a result of the storm. They have been cleaning up. If you go to the parks and you see something that is still amiss, please let the borough know so that they can address it as soon as it's reported. Everyone's still trying to get caught up. The Public Works is working very hard to get everything back to where it was, but as we know, there's a lot. So, the Planning Commission met last month and, we had a robust discussion about the PennDOT project. And that is how they, expressed interest to do the meeting in collaboration with council so that we can have a lot of voices together and talk with the citizens to find out all of the different opinions about the PennDOT project, because there are a lot of different perspectives and how we can use this situation to work with PennDOT to get what is best for Green Tree. So, I thank Ms. House for working with us as well to set that up. What is also going on is the Planning Commission is recommending us to adopt the International Property Maintenance Code for the Borough of Green Tree. That is required to have a public hearing, which we will have in June, so that people can talk about it. We will be posting the maintenance code so that people can look at it in advance. By adopting the International Property Maintenance Code, it's kind of an overarching policy that gives our code enforcement officer more power to affect change when there are things that need to be corrected on the properties of the community. So it's common practice. A lot of municipalities around us use this as their kind of boilerplate property maintenance code. It covers a lot of things that our previous code just didn't address because they weren't problems maybe 15, 20 years ago when we were adopting all of this. So keep an eye out for that being posted. And then the other things are just as you're finding things throughout the spring and summer, it's going to be a very busy time. Weather's getting good. Lots of kids at parks, lots of families. Please remember, dogs are to be leashed if they're in our parks. They cannot be loose, and they are not to be anywhere but the dog parks or the nature center. We have sporting events, people bring their dogs up there. There are kids. Not all dogs like kids, not all dogs like activities. It puts people at risk, whether your dog is friendly or not. So we just want people to remember that as we get into the summer months, farmers market, concerts, all of those things. Please, please be responsible pet owners when you have your dogs out. They're on a leash. They can't be in our parks. They can be in our dog park and the nature center. And that is all I have right now.
Are they allowed at farmers market?
No.
I do not believe so.
Okay.
They're not allowed at the ball fields, honestly, and I see them all the time up there.
There's a lot of other communities that have them bringing their dogs up to the ball field. So, yeah, visiting communities.
It's, yeah,
It's the same as the farmers market, a lot of other communities bring their dogs.
so you just need to,
I really think we should this summer have a discussion about that. I mean, myself, I'm like pro dog and I really like dogs and, I mean, we should relook at our
the
policy.
safety committee could,
Would that be the public safety?
yeah,
I guess that would.
public safety.
We'll take a look at it.
Also that I would like to suggest is we have a walking track for humans. Why don't we have a dog walking track?
We have a dog park.
We have a dog park, but not a dog walking track.
People don't clean up after their pets, Ron. It's terrible what we have to do over the farmer's market before we get everything in there. People just.
It's also if people are running
I
their track
I
and there's a
said we
dog.
should look at it, that's all. Look at it.
I'll be up there next time.
I myself would like to invite dogs to Oktoberfest, but I'm just one person, so we'll let's talk about this.
Any questions? That is the end of my.
Any questions there. Any other questions? No. Okay, next we move to public safety. Mr. Ray.
Yeah, thanks, public safety. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for stepping up to the podium tonight and voicing your concerns, holding this council accountable to what we may or may not have done and let you down. I apologize for that as a collective up here. We need to do better. I'll be focused on that, doing better from a public safety standpoint. But I want to take a moment to read this statement related to the storm. Fun factors are up. So according to AccuWeather, the storm met the criteria to be classified as a day reco. Day reco. DERECHO to spin ratio. Yeah, well, I was falling asleep in Spanish class, I guess. It's a Spanish word that describes a rare and powerful windstorm marked by widespread, long-lasting, straight line winds. These events require a damage path of 250 miles, wind gusts of at least 58 miles per hour, and multiple reports of 75+ mile per hour winds or tornado-like destruction. And that's exactly what we experienced here in Green Tree and across the region. And this just wasn't a strong thunderstorm. It was one of the worst weather events Green Tree has faced in over 25 years. I think the tornado was 1998. If I'm not mistaken, right? Like 20, almost 27 years ago. This storm we had last week knocked out power, brought down trees, damaged property, and disrupted daily life for hundreds, if not thousands of residents. And as of this afternoon, as mentioned a couple of times here, Duquesne Light social media reports indicate that around 50 customers in Green Tree are still without power. So full restoration is expected by tomorrow. And I hope those people are seeking the support that they need and leaning on their neighbors for that help. I want to thank the fire department and public works and police department for responding quickly and effectively. They were taping off live wires, fielding calls, and doing what they could to keep the community safe. In the hours and days following the storm, especially the hours after the storm, I wasn't up here to meet the candidates. I was on my friend's roof helping him with his chimney that fell on his roof. I was out there helping neighbors clean up, assessing property damage and assessing generators. Wednesday night, I helped Tyler Dersham from Mario's Pizza, who just received, I think somebody said 600 pound. I had a 400 pound order of frozen wings on Monday morning. His power was out, and so rather than let them go to waste, he cooked them up and invited residents to stop by his shop for free takeout wings. Together, along with a couple of other people, we served hundreds of people that night, making sure families without power had at least one hot, comforting meal. On Wednesday night at 10 p.m., I held a public safety committee meeting to get our arms around what was happening and determine next steps, while many were still without power. At the same time, neighbors were stepping up in big ways. Early in the week, we launched an online forum to connect residents who needed help with others willing to lend a hand. On Saturday, several of us pulled together a community meal at the municipal gym here next door. And we started talking about that Friday night, and the community just rapidly came together. We served over 100 residents and made sure our fire and police departments were fed too. Mayor Shank came to talk with residents and show support. And again, Mario's Pizza generously donated pizza for that event as well. So I'd like to thank all the community members who dropped off food, drinks, or showed up to help. There's a bunch of kids there playing in the gym on a rainy day, so that was nice too. And a special thank you to Tyler for being such a consistent and generous steward of our community. More on Tyler hopefully next month at the next council meeting. Throughout the week, I kept pushing for the placement of dumpsters so residents could safely dispose of spoiled food. The original recommendation from Borough Administration was to use electric power disposals, which clearly wasn't an option for those without power. Fortunately, after enough community feedback, the dumpster was placed in the pool parking lot. Ron, thanks for making that happen. Hopefully I played a part in that. I was going to make credit though. I'm told it filled quickly and likely helped us avoid rodents and varmints feasting on garbage left out for days. there was also a few things that didn't get done, unfortunately. I suggested that we temporarily allow food trucks into town, just like we do for the farmer's market. The residents without power could grab a hot meal. That idea was shot down. I was told people should support local businesses, which I fully agree with, except most of them were, guess what, without power. Yeah. That kind of response was frustrating, and it wasn't the only breakdown. Communication throughout the week from our municipal elected officials and state representatives was minimal at best. Many residents weren't receiving alerts from the borough app, especially those without power. And some still haven't gotten key updates even now. It also seemed like the borough was relying solely on Duquesne Light data to assess the situation, instead of actually walking the neighborhoods at night and seeing the conditions firsthand. That disconnect between data and lived experience mattered, and it slowed our response. To put the communication breakdown into perspective, the first email I received from the borough manager after the storm wasn't about the storm. It came Wednesday morning at 11:19 a.m. and it was to suggest we increased overnight parking fines from $15 to $30. Then, nearly 24 hours after the storm, I received the first actual update related to the emergency. And that message, she recommended declaring a state of emergency, which wouldn't help anyone in the short term, and said she planned to open the Carlisle Hall, Social Hall, as a charging station starting Thursday morning, several days after the storm. I was honestly shocked at the timing and tone deafness of it all, and I apologize that we weren't more responsive. To be clear, our first responders did excellent work, and I'm grateful for everything they did. This storm exposed gaps in our emergency management and communication that we need to fix. And I'll hold myself accountable to that. For example, I've since learned that we have an emergency management coordinator, whose name is David Montz, and we have an emergency management plan. But I learned that he was only contacted by email, not phone or text. That delayed our ability to act quickly. Had he been contacted directly, I'm confident he would have responded right away.
Maybe I did contact him through
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Communication improvements have already started. At Saturday's community meal, few residents suggested we partner with the library to host a Green Tree Connect app training session.
Dang.
They walked over right then and talked with the library staff who are enthusiastic and ready to help schedule it. That's the kind of initiative we need more of. Neighbors offering real, doable ideas that strengthen how we respond and communicate. The good news is, there's good news out of this. It's a learning lesson, right? We have a community full of people who care, who show up, and who take action. That's our greatest strength. It's what gives me confidence that we'll come out of this more prepared, more connected, and even stronger moving forward. That's the end of my statement about the storm.
We appreciate you, Dave.
Moving on, the chief hiring update. Our work with the PA Chief Association continues. Over the past couple of weeks, candidates that applied for the position responded to questions via a recorded video-based portal. Council and mayor independently reviewed the videos and then reduced that list down to 6 candidates. 5 of those 6 candidates accepted an invitation to an in-person interview that will be conducted by the PA Chiefs Association here at the municipal building on May 22nd. Council and mayor may attend those interviews, but can only observe. We don't participate in that interview. Council, with collaboration from the PA Chiefs, will then conduct our final interviews in June. The date to be set and deliberate on final selection. We anticipate appointing a new full-time chief at the July meeting. And that's the end of my report. Since we were dealing with the storm, I'd like to table the motion, or I guess not table, I don't even want to bring it forward about parking funds.
Yeah, but could you just make a motion to table it?
Well, is that what I do?
It would be good so that it can be considered by council at a future date.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we table resolution 1368 parking fines.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I guess we'll, take that indefinitely.
Sure.
Okay. Get that. Okay,
That's the end of my report.
okay, is that all? Do we have any questions for Dave's committee?
Dave, have you looked, you haven't had a chance to look at the prior emergency plan at all?
Yeah, I've looked at it. We've looked at it, probably about 18 months ago when we appointed Mr. Moss.
And then that was supposed to be updated once Mr. Motz was appointed, is that correct?
That, well, my understanding is that that was, when he was appointed to emergency management coordinator, that plan was okay. I mentioned in my statement that, I'll hold myself accountable to that, and we'll
Yeah,
make sure that we'll update it, because I did some research this week. And I talked to the chief via text. There are some certain policies around storm management that might sit outside of our current emergency management plan. that we
Things
should
we
probably
can
address.
have from this experience, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can you share that with, at least the committee, not the whole council?
Well, I think it needs to be posted online, so I think we should post it online in the current state. Well, yeah,
You
post it
can
online.
say to be revised on it so that people understand
Yeah.
it's current but not updated.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that all? Okay. Yes, well, okay. On my report, I have a resolution about Wilson Pool and summer recreation fees. My committee has not had a chance to meet. And we've been trying to have meetings, people are out of town. It's been very difficult to get a meeting. So I would like to table this motion. Now, I know, yes, we can, because we can revert back to the 2024 fees. There's no reason why we can't do that.
I second that motion.
Thank you.
Which is essentially what this is. So, you know.
Understood, but I feel our committee needs to have a discussion on it. That's it. Okay, so
Well, I thought we had increases to some of the fees.
No.
You told me that we were increasing summer rec fees.
There was a consideration, but the finance committee rejected it.
Okay.
and see,
Which-
this
which I
coincides
think-
with,
And if I may say wrong, I think that's probably a little bit of confusion, probably that we need to clear out, because finance considers it under their purview because it's finance, it's fees, it's revenue generation. Recreation considers it under their purview because it's a summer activity, and summer rec is clearly within recreation, but we're talking about fees, not programming. And then public property at some point felt that it was in their committee as well. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care who does it. I'm not looking to exclude any committee. We just need to decide which committee makes the recommendation. I stuck with finance.
okay. Okay, and I
But it
just
always falls under
some background. My committee's had it for the last 28 years, and, just recently, it was moved to finance. No, it was moved to properties and equipment, which couldn't figure that one out. But then it went from properties and equipment to finance. Now, finance, I could see, but I don't understand why properties and equipment was moved to.
I'm not trying to own it, Ron, you can have it.
No, I know.
I believe we have a motion on the table.
Yeah, there's a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so can I just have a point of clarification? So the pool house sales will go through beginning, I believe it's next week. I don't have the date, set the date for sure yet. And it will be at 2024 rates. Okay, I just want to make sure that, which is what this ordinance is, just,
Totally understood,
Yeah.
but,
that's fine.
and with the intentions of having a recreation meeting in the near future, if we can coordinate that, because we want to take a look at the whole recreation programs and just do an overview of everything. It's good to do that every once in a while. And as part of my report, I do want to tell everyone that Tuesday night at 6:30, I was right here at the Borough Building. I was with the mayor. At 6:30, did not realize the extent of the damage. I then went driving around and I started seeing all the damage, I couldn't believe the intensity of the damage. And I contacted the borough manager and I said, this is much worse than we think. We need to do something about it. I saw the first tree down was right here on Rhodes. I saw a tree down on a truck on West Manila. I went, and then the real part was we were at, across from Janet Danson's house on where the tree was down. And apparently we ran out of yellow tape because we only had to take 3/4 of the way. And I'm there and there was people trying to walk in it to like show their kids, oh, look at that high wire. And fortunately, the neighbors were there, this was about 7:30. And, I honestly, I was on the streets looking at stuff and in the future, I'm not happy with what went on because I feel in the future, this should have been like Hurricane Ivan. When Hurricane Ivan happened, we had the manager, the president of council, we had the public safety committee chair, we had the chief of police, we had the chief of the fire department and the emergency manager there that evening to decide what to do. And in the future, if this ever happens again, I personally am gonna make sure that this happens immediately. I mean, it's an emergency. You drop everything, you go right to do that. And I just want you to know, I did see the scope of all the damage and I tried best we could. Fortunately, my understanding is there was no major distress calls that the police had to handle. I mean, it was very, very, very inconvenient, but fortunately, no one really seriously got hurt. No tree fell on anyone. And, everyone tried to do their part. Mr. Ray's committee, I really suggest, Mr. Ray, you have a meeting and we relook at the situation in the future. So that is all I have tonight. So next, we will go to community engagement and communication.
Yeah. A reminder, that individuals are encouraged to reach out directly to the PRT in regards to the proposed schedule changes. There are probably several, community meetings and sessions coming up. All information on how to do so is listed on the borough website. If you have questions, you can reach out to me or directly to, the borough office and they can assist you with that. Similarly, if you have questions and concerns about PennDOT, we've talked about the meeting that we will have in June, but they are encouraging individuals to communicate directly with them. Information on how to do that is posted on our website as well. That will help direct you to there and information about their public meetings. Council is looking at re-upping the traffic advisory board. That will look to have some volunteer input as well. So be on the lookout for that as we look to get that moving forward. In regards to last week, I know this has been talked about pretty much all night, but we do have a lot of different modes of communication, website, emails, app alerts, text calls. We do have a Facebook and social media presence that we post on. Again, if you're having issues with that, I did hear that people weren't getting those calls, weren't getting those texts. Some of it was due to power, some of it was due to the phone lines being down. But if you are not signed up for those, if you have questions about that, again, please reach out to me. Please reach out directly to the borough office and we can help you through that. I want the community to know that you've been heard, that communication during the storm was not what you expected it to be. As the chair of the committee, I take that really seriously. It will be taken into consideration as I'm on the public safety committee as well. I'll be working closely with Mr. Ray to make sure that it's handled appropriately in the emergency plan and that we have something moving forward. In the future, we'll look to be collecting information again on how to best reach out to everyone to make sure that we're covering our channels there. So please be on the lookout for any additional information that will be coming there. And that's it for my report.
Yeah, any questions or comments? My only comment is, looking at the proposed cuts, I mean, when you look at it, you can't believe how much they want to cut. Where's the closest possible to us?
I don't even know.
I believe,
And it was like 40% of routes, there were
yeah,
at least 19 communities that were being fully cut out. I mean, it's hugely impactful for people, and this is not, I mean, this
Yeah.
is statewide budget cuts. So again, it's really important that you're heard, that people's voices are heard. So coming to us is great, and again, as a borough, that's something that we're looking at and taking to them, but it's really important for people also as individuals to be showing up and advocating for how important that is, that that's taken into consideration.
And also reaching out to your state officials.
Yes.
Who have the voice at Harrisburg, because they're the ones that are dealing with the budget, so. It's
And again-
important not only to voice to PRT, but to get to the elected officials at the state level, so that they can lobby to make sure that we have public transit.
And if you need help finding out who those people are, their phone numbers, email addresses, again, please reach out to us and we will help funnel you in the correct way to make sure that your voice is heard.
because if they do all the cuts, the closest bus will be the busway down in Carnegie. I mean, they're talking Banksville gone, Green Tree gone, everything.
Everything.
We would,
So
be
it's
very- we would be
significant.
completely left out.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for your report.
Ron,
Yes.
Ms. Callis, mentioned that there's something wrong with the email link. There is, I confirm that. Ms. Schwartz, Sammy, you're not
Yes.
on
I
that.
just noticed that.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can get that. looked
Oh, yeah,
at.
we can.
Yeah, okay.
And then, I'm not sure where this falls, but, I mentioned the food truck, limitations that we have. Help me understand how we get food trucks into the farmer's market. Do they pay a, permit? How's that?
No, we can use that as farmer's market.
Yeah,
They do not pay a fee.
so they just show up?
Well, we schedule.
You schedule.
Schedule them
Yeah.
way in advance.
They don't, they have to be scheduled by you, they can't just pull up and
Right.
drop.
Right, they have
That's
to be
the-
scheduled by us. We have a schedule printed out for, but no, we do not charge them a fee for various reasons.
Right,
So where would that fall? Because we do have an ordinance, that prevents food trucks from, soliciting.
Well, see, this is why, Dave, I think we should have your committee
Well, I'm not sure.
formulate a plan for the next
Safety.
time, because if there's an emergency and there's no power and all the restaurants are out, then it should be public safety, you should be allowed to call a food truck in.
Well, not only that, but I spoke to 2 restaurant owners who would prefer having food trucks because they would like to have a food truck in the community and the neighborhood. So I think I don't know if it falls under my committee or maybe, I don't know where that falls.
Are you speaking specifically of during an emergency?
No, I'm speaking,
Oh,
let's just
in
revisit
general.
it. Let's revisit it. Let's see what the
There was
best
a committee
practices are.
called
there.
like community events, maybe that might fall under.
Okay, so
And I will say, I think,
there you go. Ron, maybe under your committee.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look at it.
Only
What I would
because
suggest is that we survey our local business owners.
things have changed over the last 25 years. Maybe 25 years ago, people didn't like food trucks. I'm sure maybe opinions have changed.
if I may say, when I first got here, I was told that there was a pushback by local businesses against food trucks because see, the Parkway Center or Foster was having them every Friday, and the local businesses felt like here are these food trucks coming in, they're taking away our lunch business. They're not paying.
I'm not
us for
suggesting, let me
lunch,
be
they're
clear,
not-
I'm not suggesting that I am in favor of a food truck, removing the food truck ordinance that prevents food trucks from coming in. I'm suggesting that we study it.
Yeah, it's
And
time to
see-
take a look at it.
And maybe it stays the same, maybe it doesn't.
I will say if the borough changes course and wants to start allowing food truck ordinances, I think it's important to have both the zoning and non-zoning ordinance governing where food trucks are allowed, when they're allowed. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to work. with
yeah, because we don't want them just
whichever-
popping up in a random empty parking lot.
Correct.
You know,
Just want to make sure they're regulated appropriately.
So, Mr. Panza, that, you're right, that does seem like a community type event.
Yeah.
There's-
Which will be part of our re-evaluation of the recreation program.
Right.
And community, event. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, boy, I think the mayor has been so patient here. And you haven't said a word. I mean, that's amazing. Mayor, go right ahead.
Got a bunch of different areas here, but some positive things, some upcoming events here. May tenth is the Spring Festival for the Garden Club. So they have activities here and they also have it at the Flower Hall. So the Carlisle Social Center. That's May tenth. That's this weekend. Farmers Market opens May 15th, Thursday, May 15th, to the Farmers Market. So that's a great event. Everybody knows, I think, May 20th is Election Day. So get out and vote if you can. May 24th is when the pool opens. So those 4 events are coming up: Garden Club, Farmers Market, election, and the pool opens. Couple other things here. Another event here, paper shredding event is on May 17th, from 8 to 11, and that's in the Green Tree Park. So that's sponsored by our state representative, I believe, Mr. Deasy, Representative Deasy. That's another event that's coming up. A couple more things here. I'm glad we're having that meeting on June 9th about the interchange, the proposed interchange. I mean, that's not gonna be till 2029, but PennDOT, as you're aware, came and did a presentation. But they want the council or the borough's input. They want a formal statement from us. So on June 9th, we'll get more input. And then after that, council would formulate an official statement from the borough and where we're going on that. In regard to the PRT, there was a letter, it was a good letter written by Judy Miller and Dennis Fitzgerald to the members of the Pittsburgh Fitzgerald, to the members of Pittsburgh Regional Transit Authority. I'm just going to read 4 sentences here. It says, on behalf of the Green Tree Borough and Scott Township, we are writing to convey the concerns of our elected officials, residents and business owners regarding the proposed cuts to the PRT bus routes, especially the 38 bus which services Green Tree, Scott Township and surrounding areas. In particular, the loss of the 38 bus route would directly impact those coming to and from Green Tree and Scott Township. Both communities have a substantial business base, and those businesses employ thousands of individuals, many of whom rely on public transportation to get to and from work. The 38 bus line is a necessity, not a nicety, for many, and moving it and removing it may very well impact their ability to remain gainfully employed. Furthermore, it is likely that cuts to services for riders with disabilities will decrease to levels below the minimum required by the American with Disabilities Act. Again, we urge you to carefully consider those who have no other options and the impact of losing the only means of transportation these riders have. So hopefully, some of our elected officials and myself can attend some of these public meetings and express the concern raised in that letter to the Pittsburgh Regional Transit Board. In regard to Keystone Oaks School District, there's students that made Odyssey of the Mind. There were 4 student teams of 27 members, and they're going to go to Michigan State University. They've been collecting money for that. I don't know if anybody here has a child that's on that Odyssey of the Mind, but in any event, I did donate to that recently. So that's great. That I'm sure some of those kids are from the children or young students are from this community. So congratulations to them. In regard to the police chief, as Mr. Ray pointed out, there's 5 candidates left for police chief. And after the Pennsylvania Police Chiefs Association interviews them, we can sit in, we'll get an opportunity to interview them, and then we'll make a selection. So there are some local people that have applied, and there's some people that are not local, but we do have 5 good candidates. We're very fortunate. They all look pretty impressive, folks, and from what we've seen so far. So that's moving along.
Clarification, Mayor. They're interviewing 5. then they gonna narrow it down to 3, or are we gonna just re-interview the same 5?
No, they'll narrow it down to a smaller group.
Smaller group, thank you.
Actually, we're gonna narrow it down.
Yeah,
We're gonna
the-
make recommendations.
Recommendations, I mean, then we don't, yeah, that's just my.
Okay, that would be narrowed down.
Yeah.
In regard to, the storm, I think moving forward, I mean, we have to learn from this. I mean, myself, I could have done better, everyone could have done better, up here, I believe. So I'm sure this is gonna happen again. Weather all throughout the country, if you listen to the national news, there's, been a lot of, weather events. So I think that the Public Safety Committee, and myself should come up with, 2-3 page memo. I mean, we don't have to limit it about what we learned from this. I mean, I already had that written down to get more persons signed up on the Green Tree, Connect app. And there's already a training session, with the library, so that's a good idea. I think we need to determine what persons, due to age, health, and others, may need assistance. We need to determine that now, not wait to that. So there has to be ways to get people to sign up, or neighbors to tell us that we might have a list of 20 people that are due to age, health, or other. So we have to work on that. Green Tree Road, it's a state road, so there's a limited amount that we can do on a state road. If Green Tree starts messing with the state road, we could be liable. We have to check on the batteries. Those lane changes are supposed to have batteries and power, will be sun operated, so we have to check into that. I'm just throwing out a couple of things. In regard, we have a code enforcement officer. He might be a good person to use boots on the ground. Go to the areas where, people don't have electricity and report back and knock on the door to see if they need any assistance, but that would be a good person to use as boots on the ground. There's already been mentioned about trying to get, power for the borough building. We already have it at the social hall, at the file station, but, how can we get backup power here? There were some other good suggestions mentioned that, even if this building shuts down, to have people here directing, people to other places. So there's a lot more, input that people can have, so we should just get a special document. The emergency medical plan is one thing, but what did we learn from this? And the Public Safety Committee and myself would be a good one to, move forward on this, and about waste, where to call to get the waste dumpsters, the food trucks and different things like that. So we'd be more prepared. It's a shame on us if, we didn't learn from this, and shame on us if we don't create a document, that, puts down what we did learn. And in regard to, I was in contact with the police, Lieutenant Rannigan, or Acting Chief Rannigan, and the officers in charge did a good job. They complimented the fire department. They said they was 100% cooperation between the fire department, thank you, Donnie, and the fire, hopefully the fire department thinks the same thing, with the police. So they coordinated everything. And I was in touch with Ms. Miller on several issues. I mean, there are additional issues, but we did discuss a number of issues during that, in regard to, the traffic condition on Green Tree Road, electrical charging stations, and other matters. So she was accessible, to my calls or vice versa. But like I said, everybody can improve on that, including myself. So thank you for all the help, and everybody that stepped up, in this, and hopefully we have electricity 100% tomorrow. And thank you, everybody, for coming tonight and, staying up past 10 o'clock. Thank you. Into my report.
Thank you, Mayor. The, president's report, Shannon? Ms. Barrett?
Yeah, I just have a few short things. I just wanted to thank everyone that has already been thanked, for the amazing work that was done during, the last few days. And I agree, there's always room for improvement, and there's a lot of things that we can take a look at. I am very much, interested in seeing if we can create, a database of the, database is the wrong word, but have a repository of the folks who may need, more assistance because of age or health or other mobility issues or things that could happen when there is, a power outage. This was a countywide, we felt it, throughout all of Allegheny County, but there are smaller instances that pop out, through the year, through, various, different, a couple of years ago, my street, the corner of us were out for 2 to 48 hours because of, wind and ice, and the lack of electricity can pop up for a number of reasons, and learning from this experience will make us better for all of those small reasons that happen. I also wanted to personally thank, the mayor, and Mr. Pienza and Ms. Miller. I was, unexpectedly, but in the hospital for an emergency, from Friday, February 25th, until just a few days ago. And so I was in the hospital when all of this was happening. It was completely unable to, be out in the community. I did talk to a number of people who called me, residents who called me while I was in the hospital, and I talked to all of them, and relayed what information I could, about our charging stations and, other resources that were available to them. But Ms. Miller kept me updated as much as possible. Mr. Pienza also kept me updated, and the mayor sent excellent emails updating us on the police activity, and it was well appreciated. Unfortunately, I could not be out there doing things, but I was updated as much as possible. And I kept in contact with this, many residents who called me personally to talk about things. Hopefully we will learn from this, and hopefully we will all have 100% power by the end of the day tomorrow. I also want to specifically thank the library. Anytime that there is a power outage like this, the library does become a place where people come to get relief, whether it's by charging their phones, coming in for air conditioning or heat, electricity, working on their laptops, library computers. All of those things happen. That puts more people in the library than regular. And our library staff did a fantastic job, issuing new library cards, getting people what they needed during that time, and making sure they were connected and could answer those questions. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon, and we're glad you're recovering and hope you feel better, seriously, from all of us. So,
Thank you.
Okay.
I forgot one thing.
Oh.
So Kim, eventually, we're gonna vote on this public communications administrator, and you'll get your pay raise, but you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Okay, and next on the agenda is the manager's report.
I gave some of my stuff to the mayor, so that's good, but I just, look, we sit here and we listen to everybody's frustration, and we feel it. I was blessed, I did not lose electricity at all. But I do feel where you guys are coming from, and I do think that there were some missteps on this. I'll absolutely have to step up and take responsibility for it. I think all made a really good point. And I just hope that you can realize that we make the decisions we make with the information we have. So when we closed the building Wednesday morning, we lost power Tuesday evening, closed the building Wednesday morning. Hindsight, never would have done that. I would have kept the doors open, kept the table with the door, helped the people walking up, right? I don't think anybody would have, especially the people that still do not have power, I don't think it would have ever dreamt Wednesday morning when you woke up that the following Monday or Tuesday would still be without power. I don't think any of us recognize that. I think at the point in time that I realized that it was going to be a long term was probably about Wednesday evening. And when I got the information from Duquesne, that's when I immediately called them and said, we have a bigger situation on our hands. This isn't going away in the next couple of hours. So I look forward to working with this body. I look forward to the input. The input that came in tonight was really helpful. It made me think I think we close the building. It was hot, it was stinky, but so what? It helped. It might have helped the person that didn't have any other way of getting hold of anybody. So, we will learn from this and we will get better and we will, hopefully get to our emergency management plan that definitely needs an overhaul. And, this time of year, I mean, it was bad. It was, right? Everybody lost food. I talked to one poor lady, she just grocery shopped for prom party, a communion, hundreds of dollars of food all gone. And for planning for that weekend, it was all this past weekend. So, I feel for those residents. I really do. That had this happened, like an ice storm in the winter, and sleep without power for 5 days with no heat, that's really serious, So I think that's where, we need to kind of expand the thought process and put all the heads together and try to come up with a plan that, while this time of the year was really inconvenient and we lost a lot of things that we didn't want to lose, in the winter it could be much more serious. So I think that's where we need to kind of expand our thought and, continue to reach out to us and continue to provide input. We did have some residents reach out to us on Wednesday and Thursday. Thankfully, it was nothing serious for any of them. But we're open. We don't want to shut any ideas down. We are open to hearing your comments. And I, in particular, am open to hearing it so that we could get it into our plan. And the next time we, God forbid, we have the situation, I would love if all of you came here and said, you all did such a great job. We are so happy. That's what we want. None of us want our residents to be angry with us. It's not a good feeling for any of us. So, I appreciate the comments, negative as they might have been. It's okay, we learn from that. So I just, again, I thank you guys for sitting here for, I'm now in local power and I watch, and I'm probably gonna do Sharon soon too, but I thank you guys for coming out and taking the time to, your whole evening to give us feedback. So we appreciate it and we'll all work together and make it better.
Judy, I have one note for you. It was noticed that, during the power outage, the emergency light on the water tower wasn't on. And, maybe the battery ran out or something. And,
And that is one other thing too. I did meet with our electrical contractor today. There is no reason this building should not have power. Absolutely no reason. I'm not sure why it was set up that way, but it is set up that way. And so he is going to work on getting us a proposal to make sure that we don't even have to make the decision whether or not we're going to stay open or close if we have power. So that was done today. And, that's the light on the tower.
yeah, so the additional
I
thing
think
doesn't
that's
hit.
probably.
Yeah. They probably haven't changed the batteries for so long. Okay,
I have
yes.
Can we agree that if we have a presentation like we had tonight and last month, that we do that in a workshop? Because we're not here until, or the residents aren't here until 10:30 at night. Is there no reason why we can't do a workshop around that?
I have no,
I will say to you, and that we absolutely can do that. I will say tonight, I think they feel time is of the essence. And I didn't know how long it would take to schedule. And that's why I put it on tonight, just to try to, we already spent time on the MOU.
What about last month? Did that workshop?
and ironically, because time is of the essence, I was asked to ask for an executive session after this council meeting. But, you wanna meet at midnight tonight? What time it is? How, do we have time to go into executive session to discuss this? But if not, then we're gonna have to get together.
I would suggest that I think that the MOU is a very lengthy document. I think it requires, in my mind, a lot of thought. I don't think it's.
I'm not prepared tonight to talk about.
I think
I
we
need more
can
time.
schedule it for a different evening.
Yeah.
Right, I think we did schedule workshop meetings every other month, like we did last year at work, and we had stuff to talk about, we demonstrated that the past 2 months. So we can just focus on this.
Well, yeah, we can have a recreation workshop, we can have a public safety workshop, there's a lot of workshops.
All right.
Okay, so anyways, I guess we'll have to get together eventually,
We can schedule it.
So they can get on virtually.
Okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn?
Can I ask a real quick question? I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
I had a couple people on social media ask for follow-up for the.
Can you just say your name?
I'm Tina Godovic from 10 Crestmont Drive.
Okay.
I had a couple people on social media asking for follow-up on the tree branch collection that was supposed to be held today. They were just wondering if that's gonna happen.
They did, they were, yeah, they were out today, they're gonna finish up tomorrow.
Okay, I wasn't, we were like three streets that didn't get picked up today. Thank
Okay,
you.
so we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Bye.